Hey everybody, happy Saturday. Hope everybody's doing good today. Just waiting on my co-host. Yep. Whew. Yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie. It's been quite a week. It's been quite a week, I ain't gonna lie. Move this back a little bit. Too close out up in the camera. All right. Okay. So I'm just waiting on my co-host. Trying to invite her. Yep. You about to cook.
What's up?
Hey.
Hi.
Not much, just gas prices. How you doing?
The gas prices are going up there. I'm fine. How are you?
Gas prices go up everywhere.
It is. It is.
Yeah, but it's all good though. So, how's your week?
Uh, Same old.
Same old,
Hi, everyone.
not a different mode, just same old.
Same.
Okay, that's all right. Um, I had stepped in some. You know how like I have this saying to where like if you see a pile of dog crap on your path, right?
Hmm.
You got a couple of options. You could either step over it, step around it, or go another way. But it's not gonna stink until you step in it. So I stepped in some this week. There was
Literally?
not literally, but
Okay.
it just stunk. It stunk just as much. So like, there was this football player, and he said he doesn't believe in space. So I'm just like, well, he might not be wrong. I've never been to space. I don't believe that we've ever been to the moon. I don't believe it because,
You don't think
they
so?
said nah, because like they say there's no oxygen in space and there's no air in space, and but when they planted the flag, like the wind was blowing. So like where was that? Where did that wind come from? And then like, have you ever been driving on the road and you're on the phone, and then your signal drops?
Yeah.
Okay, so like they called the president from the moon on the landline. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Like how does that work? Like, and there was no
Yeah.
drop signal, and
Especially at that time.
come on,
Yeah.
like, yo. But so yeah, I had put he might not be right because he might not be wrong because check it out. So like, if you have a bottle, right, and you suck all the air out of the bottle, what's gonna happen to the bottle? It's gonna crumble.
You get trouble.
It crumbles, right? So if you have if you have a space where there's if you have like a space where there's no air, where there's no anything, right? And you put something with air pressure in it, like you put a bottle in space, it's gonna explode. If you put a bottle in a vacuum, because the thing is like I don't it, I don't know how scientifically inclined you are, but basically there's no such thing as a vacuum on Earth, or like I don't know, the universe or whatever. Like, they say space is a vacuum, but I'm thinking if space is a vacuum, then the Earth will explode.
Because of the
Because
suction.
no, because because there's no pressure. There's no pressure to hold it in. You know, like right now, if there was no air, if there was like absolutely no air in this room, my head would explode. You know, because there's a saying that nature hates a vacuum. A vacuum is just a space of nothingness. So I'm just like, well, I mean, I don't know. I said he might not be wrong, and I was like, gravity. They say we have gravity, but it could be buoyancy. I don't know. And then everybody just came for me, like all the people that like, you're an idiot. Somebody laughed. I said you wouldn't be laughing if you understood physics. And then then they started mocking me, and they started trying to explain to me the physical principles and all that. And I'm just like I took when I was a freshman in college, I took calculus based physics first semester and
Wow.
second semester. So I understand equations and theory and all that. But you know these are calculations based on measurements, right? And they derived a constant for gravity. So if you have an equation and you take the constant out, the trend will remain the same. And I don't want to get into all that because I'm going to confuse the audience and whatnot. But they started calling me stupid and saying, "Ah, you don't know what you're talking about." And this one guy said, "I don't believe you took physics." And I said, "Well, I don't believe you know anything." He said, "Well, I just proved to you I know." I'm like, well, "That don't mean shit to me." Since what I say don't mean shit to you, it don't mean shit to me. And all these idiots were inboxing me saying you're an idiot, and I was like, yo, like, what does my opinion have to do with anything? I didn't even give an opinion. I just said he might not be wrong. And I kept trying to reiterate, I don't know, but this is what I think. And they were like, you're trying to indoctrinate people, you're spreading false lies, and then people were like, everybody on this thread says you're wrong and you think you're right. I was like, oh fucking well. Like a consensus doesn't mean that you're right or you're wrong. It's just a consensus. Like, I mean, hell. But I mean, people are still like commenting to this day. I'm just like, yo, get off of it. But I say that all to say this. So I was reading the Bible, and this kind of reminded me of something you said earlier about arguing with people. And so here it is. It says, if a wise person contends with a foolish person, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. And I was like, wow, that is so true. I should not have stepped in it. I should have just like walked the other way. I just left it
Like, don't
alone.
give it your energy.
Yeah, I should have just ignored it, but I was bored, and but that's the thing. I've learned that no matter how much I've read or learned, I don't know everything. Like I know a lot less than I know way less than what I don't know. Is like this is like what I know, and then this is like what I don't know, and I'm okay with that. So that's why I'm constantly asking questions and challenging myself and not conforming to dogma. Somebody once said that they said that it's okay to have unanswered questions, but it's not okay to have unquestioned answers. And I rock with that. That's that's
That's
what
fair.
that's what we saw during 2020. Everybody was forbidden from questioning things, and that's just that's like
While Fauci and them were giving out questionable answers and flip flopping on their own answers. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like when they said that stay inside and so you'll be safe, but you can protest and you won't catch nothing. And
exactly.
people fell for that. Like what a bunch of idiots. But God, I didn't want to come on here and start being negative and whatnot. But
So you're
there's a
not being negative. You're
yeah
just expressing your thoughts.
Yeah, it's kind of.
You think so? No.
I mean, it's sometimes like from the outside looking in, things may look a certain way, and you don't want to turn people off by how they perceive you. And I know that like ultimately we cannot help how people perceive us, but we still don't want to give them bullets to shoot us with, if that makes sense.
I can understand that. Just shoot them
Yeah.
back.
I mean, it's just what I just said. You're gonna be shooting and shooting and shooting, and it's not gonna be profitable. It's like, am I trying to get them to am I trying to get them to believe that I'm right, or am I trying to get them to believe something? And so, if I'm trying to get them to believe or see something, does it have to do I have to be the one to convince them? That's the challenge that people have to, you know, they have to realize. Sometimes people are just not going to believe you, and that's okay. But maybe they'll believe what you're saying from somebody else, and that's all
It
that
usually
matters.
takes that. It usually takes a crowd instead of one individual. Or if it's something serious that you're trying to prove, it takes you showing them in action. If it's a serious matter, like, where you're at, or just, whatever. And it's not just you personally, just in general, like people believe what they see. So,
I mean, that's not even the case because like some people are so dishonest. They'll deny what they're looking at
yeah,
just because
that's
they
it.
just because of their ego. It's kind of like
It's almost never ending.
yeah. One time I was arguing with one of my good friends about something in the Bible, and then she was getting mad. I was like, okay, let's just go to the Bible. She said, no, no, I don't want to. I was like, you don't, I'm like, you don't want to go? She's like, I don't want to. I'm like, okay. So that made me realize that it was not about who was right or who was wrong. It was about ego. It was all ego. And people take that attitude into relationships. And if you do, your relationship is not gonna last.
No.
You gotta ego. You gotta leave ego out of relationships. And a lot of people just won't swallow their ego. They have to be right. They have to be heard. And it takes a lot of humility for a relationship to last. And that's something that a lot of people really don't want to practice. They don't want to practice being humble to anything. You
Yeah,
know,
a lot of people lack humility. I
yeah,
can actually
it's really
say I'm a woman of humility, and like I was saying to you earlier, that I just don't argue and debate like that no more. I don't even have the mental capacity, particularly where I'm at, or sometimes even social media, whatever. That's worldwide, but sometimes I just don't. I don't know. Maybe it's growth, but I mean, I still have my moments, but I don't have the mental capacity anymore, um, especially where I'm at. And you just can't talk to certain people. You just have to just let them have it. Like, if there's something that they believe and it happens to be delusional, let them be on that delusional cloud. Like, let them have that. It's
yeah,
definitely growth, I think.
yeah. There's another Bible verse. Hold on, let me pull it up. Okay, so I don't want to come on here preaching and stuff, but people need to know. All right, it says, "Answer not a fool according to his foolishness, or else you'll be just like him."
Like a fool being following a fool, and they're both fools.
Nah, like don't answer. Like it says, don't answer a fool according to his foolishness,
Because you'll be a
or else
fool too.
you're gonna be a fool as well. You're gonna be just like him. So like you said, let them have it. Arguing with a fool. If two people are arguing and if two people are arguing, you arguing with a fool. People on the outside not gonna be able to tell who's the fool and who's the wise person. They're just gonna be like, look at these two fools arguing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but speaking of which, I was on somebody's show last night, just to chime in, and there was a there was a lady, and she tried to use like bullying tactics, and I just kept saying like, I just kept shutting her down, and then she called me a simp because I didn't want to engage with her, and I was just like, I've grown a lot because like the old me, I would have like tried to put her in her place, but what's the point? It was quite embarrassing, but it is what it is. That's that's just how people get down. Anyhow, so how you feeling?
I'm hanging in
You
there.
hanging in
I'm here.
there? I was thinking the other day, and about like an hour ago. So there was a conversation about people having sex out of wedlock, and I had this conversation with my mom. Um, was it last week when I was moving her? So we were talking, and I was telling her about how a lot of young people get married to have sex, and then when they get married, they end up not having sex at all, and then they end up getting divorced because some kind of sexual transgression. So then I was like, I think a lot of people are getting it wrong when they say, you know, get married or to avoid having sex before marriage. Um, whatever people say. But I was like, man, I'm like, that's an incomplete thought because people get married to have sex, and then they get married, and then they don't have sex, or there's some kind of cheating involved. So I was like, it's
Horrible.
you said what?
That's
But it
horrible.
happens. It happens. And then I was just like, then it dawned on me. I was like, that's not why we're not supposed to be one with unbelievers or people that are not like minded. To be like when it says be not unevenly yoked with unbelievers, and it says, have no fellowship with darkness, stuff like that. There was in the book of Genesis, and I promise this is not going to be a Bible. It's not going to be a Bible teaching. I
There's
promise.
nothing wrong with that.
But in the book of Genesis, have a lot of people like there's a controversy over an account that happened. It said that when mankind was multiplying on the earth, it said the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and they saw that they were beautiful, and they took them as wives, and they had children with them, and it said they became giants on the earth and mighty men of reputation. So basically, they were like ancient celebrities. So a lot of people think that when it says sons of God, it means like angelic beings and all that stuff like that. Me personally, I don't believe that. I when you continue to read the Bible, like it's clear that the sons of God are the righteous remnant of mankind. So when you have righteousness and unrighteousness come together, you're never gonna produce anything good out of it. It says that um, it says that bad communication or bad company corrupts good morals or good habits, and I see it like in life. It just plays out in life. So I don't think it's a matter of just sex. Like people. I remember I was on Blanche's live, and I said that fornication is not necessarily premarital sex, and everybody got mad at me. Everybody just came for me, and I was just like, "Yo, like y'all not looking at it like holistically." But
So
you
let
know,
me ask, like when you talk about these couples or these marriages where they're waiting to have sex till after they're married, uh, is there like a statistic for that?
what you mean?
Like basically not even a statistic, but like how often does that happen? Is
I don't know.
it is it frequent or is it just every now and again? And then
I don't.
are you talking about situations of, let's say like the woman is waiting, I'm just giving an example, like the woman is waiting till marriage and the man isn't. She probably thought that he was. So going into what you're saying, like maybe she's really a woman of faith and maybe he's acting like it and he really deceived and lied to her and then they find out the truth after they're married and then divorce happens? Is that like
Yeah,
kind of what you're talking about?
yeah. I mean
Or that's
that's the
one
gist.
thing.
That's the gist of it. That's the gist of it. You know, basically, I'm saying don't get married just to have sex. Marriage is for companionship, and you can only companion. You can only be. You can only companion with people that are like minded with you. You know, it's like the Bible says, the two walk together unless they be in agreement. The answer is no. You know,
So let's say a
if
man and a woman's together, they wait to have sex, that's the agreement. Do they know that they're going to be compatible or not even just sexually, but like the whole package deal, right? Is it like you, as a man and a woman, you're together, you feel like you're together, you see eye to eye, you have similar beliefs, whatever. Um, I don't know. Is that what makes them wait until marriage to have sex? Then if they're compatible before they had sex, before they got married, then they wait to have sex with each other. I don't know. Is that what's going to make it successful?
no,
The marriage?
what's gonna what's gonna make it successful is intimacy. You know, if they're one, when they become one, that's what's gonna make it successful. It's like the Bible says, a friend will love at all times. So a lot of people marry enemies. A lot of people are sleeping with their enemies. You know, if your friend it does if somebody doesn't love you, then they're not your friend. Point blank, period. And you know, we choose our friends. We rather a lot of times we rather be around our friends than our family because we don't choose our family. And a lot of people's family cause them a lot of stress and a lot of anguish. You know, and you know, people start saying like, "Well, they're my family. I got to deal with them." No, you don't. You don't have to deal with them. You know, it's like Jesus said. He said, my people are those who hear my Father's word and do it. You know, so it had nothing to do with family. He even said that. He said that you know, if you want to follow, be my disciple, you know, you got to forsake mother, father, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. You got to forsake like people and come follow him. You know, and and what he's saying, he's not saying that just say screw everybody. He's saying that look, I am primary. You know, I am what binds everything. It's not about it's not about where you're from anymore. You know, it's like when it's like there was this man when he was out about when Jesus was out about doing this thing with his disciples. This man he asked him, "Hey, can I follow you?" And Jesus said, "All right, come on." He said, "Hold on, let me go bury my father." And Jesus said, "Look, let the dead bury the dead. Come on." And you know the guy he couldn't he couldn't let go. He just wanted to bury his father. So you know that's something that's why the the life of a believer is supposed to be so different because we have guidelines. And the guidelines are not so, you know, God can restrict us from having fun or whatever. It's so we can have a good life, so we can have a prosperous life, so it can go well with us. It's like he said, honor your father and mother so you will live long in the land and so it will go well with you. You know, I think people have totally misconstrued the purpose of a lot of these things God tells us to do or he instructs us to do. It's not because he's a prude or he doesn't want us to have fun or he doesn't want us to enjoy life. It's so we can have life and have life to its fullest. You know, when we get into fellowship with evil people, with evil dark people, it decreases the quality of our lives. It's we're always stressed out, we're always anxious. You know, we start getting trust issues, and it's all because we got in fellowship with somebody that we shouldn't have been in fellowship with. You know, what fellowship does light have with darkness? None.
That's true. The confusion.
Yeah. You know, so it's
That's
like
very true.
with the sex is people say sex is for childbirth. Like that's not true. Sex is for bonding. Sex is to consummate a union. You know, it's for bonding. Um, marriage is for companionship. People say all sorts of things about marriage. You know, marriage um marriage is for companionship. So
The way people talk about marriage nowadays is like as if marriage is a joke. Like I can't believe it's come that far. That's how like degenerate this era is.
I can believe it came that far because just people have no understanding of truth. Like when they started when they started trying to pass the whole gay marriage and try to repeal the Defense of Marriage that George Bush passed or he signed into law, I kept saying that if we let this go, then it's gonna open up the floodgates for all sorts of things. Then people gonna try to marry dogs, and people just gonna try to marry children, and I was always get the pushback. Well, let people love who they want to love. I'm like, a crackhead loves crack. Does that does that mean that we give him
Exactly.
crack? Does that mean that we give him crack? And people just weren't hearing me. So it's like here we are. But the whole time, it really wasn't gay people were that were disgracing marriage because marriage ultimately is between a man and a woman. It was really quote unquote straight people that were shaming
In
marriage.
numbers, in large numbers.
Yes, yes. It was the straight people that were bringing shame to God's holy institution. So I don't know. It's a lot. I mean, as you can see, I've been thinking about this. This has been on my mind, and like when we were talking a couple of hours ago, and I was saying that we're talking about cheating and stuff like that,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. How you think like if a man has sex,
yeah,
he cheats on his woman with another lady,
I
that's
cheat.
not cheating to you.
Yeah, yeah. So So I thought about it, and the first commandment. People think that the worst thing you can do, the worst sin you can commit, is killing, murder, and all that, whatever. But the Jesus said the first and the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. This is the first. This is the first and great commandment. Right. So the worst thing you can do, the worst transgression you can commit, is to not love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's the worst transgression you can commit. And then he said the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So treat other people's the way you want to be treated. If you don't want to get cheated on, don't cheat. Simple and plain. You know,
So if a man doesn't want his wife to cheat on him, he shouldn't cheat on her, right?
look, don't try to press me now.
What?
Look, it's it's nuanced. It's nuanced, but in our in our relationship convention, no, look, a man should only have one woman in this current time that we live in because all you need is really one. And the whole point of marriage is companionship, fellowship, being one. You cannot be one with more than one woman. I know.
Does that include sexually? You
Could you let me cook,
know,
please? Yeah, let me, let me
I
finish.
can't. I can't.
You can't be one with more than one woman. Cause I've tried and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're
But
gonna
that
you're gonna
includes sexually,
look
right?
here. Like we're not gonna talk about all that. Look. Bottom. Okay, look. To be fair, bottom line. If you don't want somebody to do it to you, don't do it. Is that fair?
Yes, and that includes sex.
Golly, man. Sex
If
such
a
a big
man is in
deal.
a relationship with a woman, okay, he wants her to be faithful and keep it tight. He don't want her to cheat on him.
Uh-huh.
Then he shouldn't cheat on her with another woman either, because now you're inviting spirits and stuff and venereal, the possibility of venereal diseases and infections and stuff like that, and you're adding different energies and different behaviors. in different conflicts, and you might get the other woman knocked up and pregnant. Now you might be possibly inviting another outside baby,
Yeah, and
just to
and
name a few.
and in our culture, that's a disaster. You don't want to do stuff like that. People don't think about the consequences of their actions or the decisions that they make. And like if I want to work, I want to marry a woman that's my friend. That I can that I'm excited about going home to every day. So if there's somebody like that, if I hold somebody like that in that regard, then I'm not gonna do something to hurt them that I know is gonna hurt them. You
That means
know?
a lot.
So that's what I'm saying about friendship. A lot of women that I've been involved with did not appreciate the value of friendship. And some women that I was just talking to like casually, that I was trying to get to know, they'd be like, "What you want?" I'm like, "Yo, like I really just want somebody to be my friend. Like I want my woman to be my friend." And then they would be like, "Oh, he's trying to friend zone me, so I'm gonna like leave." I'm like, "Yo, that's not what I said. Like you didn't listen. I said I want my woman to be my friend." But you know, I think that those women, they have a warped view of friendship because they call everybody their friend, and they don't have any discretion about who they call their friend, and everybody ain't their friend. And and then how they treat people that they consider friends. A lot of people treat people that they consider friends like crap.
Yes,
So
it's not nothing of substance.
yeah, so they're like, well, friend, he's gonna treat me like crap. He's gonna treat me like I treat my friends. I don't want this. So yeah, a lot of women missed out because they just, I don't know, they had
Trust me, I
like
know.
they had what you call it, a scarcity mindset. But
If you notice the sisterhood, just in general with women, as far as friendship is concerned, it barely exists nowadays. I mean, not that it's nothing new how women are catty and can be jealous of one another and all these things, but sisterhood barely exists now. And
oh
what a
yeah,
time! What a time! Not just what a time for that to exist while women are under attack. I'm not saying women are only under attack, but I'm just saying in their segment, everybody's under attack somehow, some way. Like white people are attacked for certain things, men overall are attacked for certain things, children are very much attacked, and women are attacked in their own way as well. And it's just weird that there's no unity with women, like the sisterhood and the girly girl friends and stuff like that. And if you have problems within your own group, whatever group you are, if there's no unity or somebody to mold everyone together within your group of people, whoever you are, it's just gonna fail. So women, like I never want to hear shit about women empowerment. I say all that to say that.
well, I would say that I would say that what is there to bond over? Like women be like, "Oh, girl, let's hang out," and they just met the person. I'm like, that's weird. Like, you don't even know this person. But like
Yeah,
my
I'm not with
friends,
all that. I know when girls do that to me, like they try to be friends with me, I get like a little, I'm like, oh no, why? I always like, why is she trying to be friends with me? And every time I had that feeling that I'm asking myself that question in my deep in my gut, it didn't turn out right.
your spider sense started tingling.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah,
Women are
like
evil. And I would get banned off of Facebook a few years ago. My first time like you're in Facebook jail. I don't know how that goes
yeah.
now because I deactivated my account. But the very first time I got deactivated off of Facebook for 3 days was just commenting back and forth with somebody. It was no beef, no nothing. We were actually in agreement, and I was saying that the devil is a woman,
Ooh.
and then Facebook threw me in Facebook jail for 3 days for saying that. And then I came back laughing, replying. I'm like, you know what? Facebook is a feminist. And it was like, what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or something.
I wouldn't say women are evil. Women are just
Emotional
women are just like men.
creatures.
Nah, they're just, yeah. Women are more emotional than men for the most part. But anybody's capable of evil if you're not walking in truth. You know, I was arguing with somebody yesterday, and we were talking about self interest and stoicism, and how everybody, he was like, everybody lives for themselves. I'm like, yes, but not totally. You know, when once you realize that your life is not all about you, that certain people's destiny is tied to yours, then you start moving a little different. You know, that's what being a parent is. You understand that your child's destiny is tied to yours, and not even your child's destiny, your grandchildren or your great grandchildren. Having that generational mindset. So, I think that we live in a time where we've been convinced that the resources are so scarce that the environment cannot sustain us, and that's a lot. That's a big load of bullshit. Resources are abundant. We've been indoctrinated to believe that resources are scarce. So we have a scarcity mindset with everything we do. We're always trying to hold the little we have at the expense of the abundance that we can have. And it's insane when you think about it. You know,
That's true.
um, it's like the thing with fear. It's like what we're fear like when we fear, like we're in a dire state, and the fear is keeping us from losing the little that we have. But I'm just like, the little that we have is barely sustaining us now. So why not, you
Let it
why
go.
not just why not let it go? Why not drop it so you can, hold more? It's I don't know.
That's a great perspective.
I try to really just I try to just stay balanced in my thoughts, and you and just not get too bogged down with my current situation, whatever that may be. The things you were facing 15 years ago, it seems like it's nothing now. And the things you're facing now, 15 years from now, you're gonna be like, I can't believe I was tripping over that. That's why I don't really like when my nephew, when he comes to me, and he's like, he's crying over a problem, and I'll be looking at him. I'm like, man, that's lightweight. Like, you shouldn't be crying over that. But I never make him feel less than. I never try to invalidate how he's feeling, because that problem is real to him. And if I invalidate that, then I invalidated him. I want him. I encourage him to work through it. I'm like, oh man, that's all right, man. Keep going, keep going. You can do it. And then
Yeah.
once he gets through it, he be like, look, I made it. I'm like, yeah, I told you. So then the next time around, it won't be nothing to him. And as adults, like, we got to keep that perspective. Like, what we see now, there's somebody else that looks at us and they'll be like, man, that's nothing. So that's, we always really got to keep things in perspective. Anyway, so what we cooking today? Who are we cooking today?
That was a great startup, by the way. But I guess since Black History Month is over, the Black Panthers and the BLM connection and the degeneracy with black men and women, and going down the rabbit hole of how it was back then and pretty much how it relates to what's going on now.
You know what? That's really, I think good that's a good topic, because I was watching earlier. Kathy Barnett, that senator that she ran for state senate in Pennsylvania against Dr. Oz and that retarded dude,
Yes, yes.
the black lady.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, or midterms. Yeah.
yeah. So she went on this show this morning, and she was talking about how conservatives, they need to stop talking about Martin Luther King's legacy and stop talking about how he was a bad guy and start talking about policy. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, she is totally, in my opinion, I was like, she's totally like off base, because the thing is, the other side, they don't care about policy. It's all about what emotions they can evoke in you. You don't win the vote by policy. And that's why I say everybody shouldn't vote, because I don't think people are sophisticated enough to understand how policy affects their lives on a grand scale. So it's like the Marxists, the left, whatever you want to call them, they play the cultural war. They get these
They play it
celebrities.
well.
Yeah, they play it really well.
Yes.
They get these celebrities as their frontmen to push their rhetoric and their votes, and everybody wants to be like a celebrity and all that. So you know,
And
and
the idol worship.
exactly, and conservatives are finally. I think it's our generation. They're finally starting to figure it out. They're like, okay, we got to engage culture because the people are not educated and sophisticated enough to understand the intricacies of policy. And so, when she was talking about Martin Luther King, I was like, that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
Because MLK is everybody's justification for their evil.
Influence
Open the borders. They're like, open the borders. Well, MLK, that's what he would have wanted. He advocated for all
and
people.
mix.
You
Yeah.
know, they're like, we can't discriminate against people with alternative lifestyles because MLK advocated for all people. That's their rhetoric. So I don't know how strategic it would be to only go after rational people, because your assumption would have to be that most people in the middle are rational people. But I think that if you attack things at their root, then you can really get people to see. If you have weeds and you just cut them off from the top, it's gonna grow back, and they usually grow back thicker. So all the heroes that they told us are heroes, they all ain't shit. Like they're all like wicked to the bone. We're gonna talk about oh boy Huey P. We're gonna talk
Yeah, we definitely have to talk about Huey P. Newton.
we're gonna talk about him. I'm a
He yeah, we have to talk
yeah.
about him.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on Angela Davis a little bit. We're gonna leave MLK's waterhead ass alone. But you got anything to add to that?
With the civil rights or just MLK.
Yeah, about
Um,
just like what I'm
I
saying.
was gonna ask you, like, okay, what do you think, like, when you see Charlie Kirk, for instance, or just people that they're bringing MLK to the forefront now? What do you think about that? Do you think I know you're saying that these are discussions that need to be had with the way that Charlie Kirk is going about it from a conservative lens, not even so much the racial aspect. What do you think about that?
When I see Charlie Kirk going at Martin Luther King, I'll be like, ha ha, my nigga. Nah, I'm playing. I'm playing. I think it's necessary because we got to deconstruct these narratives. We got to cast down these idols. We got to give people an opportunity. I think that I think the black identity that has been given to us, I think it's very detrimental to progress, because you're constantly a loser. You were told you're a loser. You were told your ancestors are losers, and basically you're told that you gotta agitate people to give you a win, and that's not how you compete. Like that's not how power is obtained. Power is obtained you by force or by leverage. You can't beg an oppressor to stop oppressing you. Like I never understood that. I'm like, these people, you're saying these people are oppressing you, but you're begging them to stop oppressing you. Like,
Yes,
how
it
the
makes no
hell does that work?
sense.
That don't make no damn sense. But Marxist rhetoric never makes sense. It's
No.
antithetical to reality. So, but anyway. So I remember last time you were saying that you used to be pro-black. Don't worry, I did too. Like I was called, they used to call me angry black man. I don't know why. I was never angry. I just like,
It's so funny you say that because I was like obsessed with the Black Panthers, and just, fast forward to be where I'm at now, to even compare BLM to the Black Panthers, especially like, when you have a mindset of like the way that people were back then, they were more well equipped, more disciplined. Just, people were just more manual back in the days. And you typically think of them as being better than whatever group or whoever it is now. So I wouldn't like, as far as when BLM started, I never wanted to compare them to Black Panthers or put them on, like, basically it was like I put Black Panthers on a high pedestal compared to BLM.
yeah,
But then it's like when I think about it all in a nutshell, it's the same shit, just different eras.
yeah. They're the BLM. They're the progeny of the Black Panthers and all their nonsense. What's up, Leatherface? What's up, my fellow Houstonian, fellow Texan?
Now he's an up north guy. Hey, Leatherface.
All right, so I'm gonna read this article. It was written in the San Francisco Gate in 1995. It said by the time Newton was murdered in Oakland in 1989 by a
Hmm.
member of the Black guerrilla family, a prison-based gang, the Panthers' glory days were long gone. He had been strong arming crack cocaine dealers for rock crystals for a long time. Convinced that his Black Panther fame still had enough weight to protect him on the mean streets, the portrait of Newton seated in a wicker chair in his Black Panther garb looking as intrepid as Che Guevara was an iconic image of the 1970s. His funeral drew 3,000 mourners. Panther was a movie. It said living in Boston, but living in Houston from Boston. That's all. It's all good, man. You welcome here, man. You welcome here. All right. Speaking of Boston, The Departed, that's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. Anyway, all right. So Panther, it was a movie that they were doing on the Black Panther. It says it covers only the beginning of the party and Newton's vault into the nation's consciousness. Later came disillusionment, but the early years were full hope and enthusiasm. Newton, Cleaver, and Seal were awakening a sense of black empowerment. We see them organizing rallies, challenging the police in the streets, and forming political alliances with the left. Noted, this was
Like the 60s.
1995. This no,
Oh,
this was written in 1995.
oh, written about, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In limiting itself to early years of Panther Promise, the film misses opportunities to plumb the mind of a man whose great gifts were balanced against equally large flaws. The film is a 2 hour lie. Okay, so this is this person is obviously biased, but nevertheless, it said the film is a 2 hour lie that ignores the Panthers' violence, drug dealing, and destructiveness, said David Horowitz, a former sympathizer who is now president of the Conservative Center for Study of Popular Culture in Los Angeles. The movie is calculated to inflame community tensions by depicting law enforcement officials as criminals, thugs who commit violence against innocent citizens, make deals with the mafia, and flood the inner city with illegal drugs. In his book, The Shadow of the Panther, published last year, Hugh Pearson portrayed Newton as a thug who was not only a brutal murderer, but also a betrayer of those who saw in him a spiritual and secular savior. And Pearson's telling Newton was without core, spoiled and cruel, beset by inner demons. Pearson said he had experienced to write a history of the black. He had expected to write a history of the Black Panther Party in which the beauty of his breakfast programs, its communal theories, and so on far outweighed the negative. Instead, he found an organization that had relied on terror to reach its goals and keep its members in line, and wondered whether he should tell the stories he uncovered. Seal, who like Cleaver, broke with Newton, was savagely beaten and then sodomized to make his humiliation more complete.
Exactly.
Seal is now a Chicago businessman with Cleaver, who has had his own problems with crack, lives in the East Bay, and has become a political conservative.
Yeah.
were the Panthers brought down by government conspiracy? Pearson agreed that the FBI infiltrated its ranks and its counterintelligence arms made use of an array of dirty tricks to undermine it. Okay?
So going into, I know that Huey P. Newton, he raped Bobby Seale, but he also did that to Eldridge Cleaver too. Because I know that in the early 70s, that Eldridge Cleaver was, he was at odds with Newton. They were parting ways, and all that stuff was happening. Where these Black Panther members, they were in exile, going to Cuba and everything like that. But he raped Eldridge Cleaver too.
Yeah.
Huey P. Newton.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, in fact, I don't know if you watched that masterful piece Chuck did on the Black Panthers, but he did that a lot. Like he would do that to a lot of the members, and if he found out that you were crushing on one of the females, he would smash one of the females, just so he can, just because it was communism. It's like
Yeah.
no man has his own woman. Like all these are community, basically like they're community
He
hoes,
was an
and
extreme communist,
yeah,
Huey.
and and that's kind of what turned a lot of those women into lesbians or feminists.
Yeah.
Like like Angela Davis.
Like
Well,
Angela Davis.
we'll talk about her with her evil ass.
Hmm.
All right, so this is the Shadow of the Panther. Huey Newton and the Price of Black Panther Power in America, 1994. It said in the last year of his life, Huey P. Newton became the single most frightening individual I've ever known. The last time I saw Huey alive was late 1988 or early 1989 when I drove up into an expensive subdivision of Oakland Hills to hear him speak at the pristine and glistening new built Meredith Junior College. Let me see. It says, it said what happened to Huey Newton between 65 and 66 and 88 and 89 changed the history of the country for good or ill. He and Seal formed the Black Panther Party, an Oakland-based national organization that advocated black revolution and violent retaliation against racist police brutality. The police and FBI attacks Newton and his followers were as widespread as those against the American Communist Party 2 decades before and were just as devastatingly effective. Huey was involved in a shootout that left an Oakland police officer dead and was jailed several times for that and other offenses, and for a time was forced to leave the country and live in exile in Cuba. His militant actions and the attacks against him made him a hero to many African Americans and to both the radical and not so radical white left. Okay, so again, like this is from a perspective. This is written, as a from a perspective of somebody. But look how he wrote it. And this is my beef with like black culture, because it's communist. The black culture as we know it now is communist, and communism is from the pits of hell, because they want to get rid of God. They want to make man God and make the government the God. It says that he was a hero. It said his militant actions and attacks against him. I'm gonna read that again. His militant actions and the attacks against him made him a hero to many African Americans and to both the radical and not so radical white left. Okay, so it's like the culture that we all embraced growing up. The rap music, the fist in the air. The power of the people. It was all radical anti-God, and we didn't know better. That's why, and a lot of these people, they prey on the young impressionable minds. When you're a teenager, you don't know nothing, even though teenagers swear they know everything. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of American citizens said they were willing to die for Huey Newton and for the causes he championed. Some did. It said, but Huey Newton was more or less than a committed revolutionary. He was also a drug addict and a man with a violent temper and a personality that can quickly turn him trigger quick into a brutal remorseless thug. These two personalities, the revolutionary and the thug, that sounds like Tupac, by the
I
way,
was about to say, yeah.
competed competed side by side for the soul of Huey P. Newton, often in full view of the party, press, and public. He was accused by former supporters of any number of crimes, including murder, extortion, and forced sodomy. He became perhaps the most um, enigmatic and controversial figure of an enigmatic and controversial era. The Black Panther Party eventually cracked and broke apart from the strain of it all. Huey Newton died a crack addict in 1989, shot in the head by a drug dealer. Okay, so this is the man that like they they say that we should sympathize with or
Look
empathize
up
with.
to. Look up
Yeah,
to.
this is a man that we should look up to, just because he has the same color of skin. And you know, I kind
He
of
really make light skinned dudes look bad, really.
well,
I'm
hey,
so serious.
I
Huh?
mean, well, you know, it's funny because most of the civil rights leaders were light skinned, like Rosa
And the Nation of
Parks.
Islam as well.
Yeah,
And there was some colorism in the Nation of Islam,
yep.
you know.
Malcolm X, um, Du Bois,
Farrakhan,
Farrakhan,
his
W.B.
father
Du
is
Bois.
Jewish.
I didn't know that.
Farrakhan.
I didn't know that his father was Jewish.
He
What's
plays music just like them too, like the Jewish people. Very, very, very talented when he plays the violin.
yeah, Elijah Muhammad? He was very light skinned.
Yeah,
Um,
Elijah Muhammad. I don't think he was black. And then the
Angela
original Muhammad Thord or whatever, the first one that started the whole Nation of Islam.
Farad or
Yes,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, he was.
It's like it's all a joke. It's just like I
well,
can't with these people.
I mean, it's that's what happens when you identify with skin color only, and you know the
Well,
Bible.
their skin color. How do you identify? They were lighter than light.
Yeah,
Elijah
I mean,
Muhammad and the what's his name, Elijah Thort or whatever from the 1920s or whatever.
yeah,
Like, how do you?
I don't. Hold on, since we educated, let's look that up. Um,
I'm
founder.
pronouncing it wrong, but I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Wallace Farad Muhammad. Yeah,
Yeah, well, him. Thank you.
yeah. It says that he was reportedly born in. It says 1877, founded the Nation of Islam. It says he arrived in Detroit with an ambiguous background and several aliases, and proselytized idiosyncratic Islamic teachings to the city's black population. This might have been he might have been a psyop. Like,
Yeah,
reading this,
I wouldn't doubt that.
like, jeez. But even Angela Davis, she's light skinned.
Yeah,
What's
and
what's
even Kathleen Cleaver, Eldridge Cleaver's wife. Like remember like those light skinned Black Panther women? They look white, but luckily they had an afro, so it gave them a little blackness. Like
yeah,
Angela Davis, Kathleen Eldridge. I mean, Kathleen Cleaver. Um, I don't
yeah,
know.
what's the name? Even now, like you got that fake black dude, Sean King. You got him.
Yeah,
You got Colin Kaepernick. You got Angela Rye. That annoying, unfunny comedian.
Amanda
Um,
Seals.
Amanda Seals.
Yeah,
Golly, yes. She's
she
like the most
blocked
mis.
me. I think she's a little bit of a psyop too because she blocked me or whatever. Like she was at that time when they was trying to do the governor recall in California when Larry Elder was running and she was speaking against Larry Elder. She was also pushing the vaccine and she was speaking with high regards to Governor Gavin Newsom. But it's like you're supposed to be this pro-black chick or whatever. So why are you speaking so highly of Governor Gavin Newsom? So I called her out, whatever. She looked through my pictures and she was like, oh, you're posing sideways with your ass sticking out and like she's like really looking at my pictures. And then by the time I'm like trying to reply to her, she had already blocked me. But Amanda Seals, I call her a fake Angela Davis. I'm actually happy you brought her up. She's a fake. I actually wonder, like, is her name put together like Amanda Seals, Bobby Seals, and she reminds me of Angela Davis. Like she reminds me of a fake Black Panther, Amanda
They're
Seals.
all they're all fake. They're all
Already themselves, but
yeah.
I'm
They're
saying
not.
her in the here and
Yeah,
now. I think
yeah.
and Amanda Seals is like a, I call her Angela Davis wannabe.
Yeah, all these people are not. They're cartoon characters to me. They're not real. I don't know. I don't know if you seen I don't know if you like kung fu movies, but like Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, Jim Kelly. He said you come straight out of a comic book, and most of these people are comic book characters. Like comic.
Exactly, Baba Yaga. He says she's a feminist. Yeah, definitely. Amanda Seals is definitely a feminist. She's the new era Angela Davis,
She.
without a question.
I don't even know if she's a feminist. I think she's just a sexually frustrated, just a sexually frustrated misfit that can't get her way. Like she tried to get that dude Myron Rowe caught up, talking about he assaulted her. He was that former NFL player turned neurosurgeon. Try to put the code red on him. Like that was so low. She tried to ruin that
Yeah,
man's
so
life.
that's also a feminist tendency. I'd say she's a feminist, like, overall. Plants, right? Yeah.
I don't
I think
know.
she's a plant. Like, I want, like her name is Amanda Seals, Bobby Seals, and then she acts like Angela Davis. I really think she's like a current Black Panther, a
I
feminist.
think she I think she just wants attention.
Well, that
And most
too.
and most of these people do. They just want attention. Like
And
especially
similar to the Black Panther, she's one of those, oh, I have my bachelor's degree and I was in college. Like, and like Huey P. Newton had his bachelor's degree, but then he later on went for his doctorate or whatever. Um, these are all people that got their degrees, went to school, and you can't tell them shit. Oh, I have a degree, da 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 da. But they're like communists. And I'm
yeah.
just like, you know what? I have to ask you. Like, you know how they have this thing with, because Black people should look up to the Black Panthers and everything like that. What do you think about the FBI and the Black Panthers? Do you think it's the FBI's fault that the Black Panthers became dismantled
I think that they would have been dismantled anyway. They would have
because of themselves? It's
yeah,
not. It's not. Yeah.
they would have imploded, but they were too much of a threat to the they were too much of a threat to the republic, and you know for to radicalize so many people. I mean, we're seeing that now. We're seeing the disillusion of society because so many young people are becoming radicalized, and I pretty much blame the parents. Parents are supposed to guard their children from becoming radicalized, and they haven't. A lot of parents of our generation, they let the TV raise us, and I don't know. It's really just it's really it's really I don't know. I don't know.
When you really think, speaking of radicalized and the Black Panthers, when you go down this rabbit hole and we take things back, the crimes that they were doing, like Ashada Shakur with the New Jersey Turnpike, when she killed the officer and then she ended up escaping, like escaping prison for that, going into exile in Cuba. Uh, and then you think about, like you just mentioned a little while ago, with Huey P. Newton shooting a cop in Oakland. Eldridge Cleaver, on a separate case, also shot a cop in Oakland as well. And when you really think about it, like, how we see whatever's going on today with the police and people, like the Black community, so to speak, a lot of people are getting away with murder. They're getting away with a lot of things. And so were the Black Panthers. And that's why we compare it to BLM, or why I can actually compare it to BLM now at this stage in my life, because it's the same shit. It's the same degenerate behavior, and they don't have to deal with the consequences for their actions. And are you familiar with Richard Aoki?
I I began to read about him because he sent me his information, but
Hmm.
I just got too busy. But like, I mean,
So
what?
he's the Japanese affiliate of the Black Panthers, and he supplied them with guns. So he he's Japanese. He's from Oakland. His parents were interns during World War II in the 1940s. So he's out there living in Oakland or whatever at the time. Um, and when he was going to college and Berkeley College and everything like that, he was meeting up with Bobby Sills and Huey P. Newton in the mid 1960s. So he met up with them and everything like that. And talking about communism and stuff and the mentality that Huey P. Newton has, um, with this guy, Richard Aoki, he studied about Marxism and he was learning about, yeah, Karl Marx himself and everything like that. And I'm not going to blame him for putting those thoughts into Bobby Seals and Huey P. Newton, because Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seals, they were going to do whatever they was going to do anyways. So even so much to where he was supplying them with guns, he was there. He was a man of many hats. He was an educated guy. He was in the army. He also, being that he's Japanese, he was down with the Asian American. Um, when he was a teenager, he was down with the gang, but then he was also down with the Asian American Association or whatever out there in Oakland, California. But it was to a point where Huey P. Newton asked Richard, he was like, hey, you're down with us, right? With the Black Panthers. And even Richard Aoki had said to him, he's like, but hey, I'm not black, I'm Japanese. So you talk about Huey P. Newton being a communist. He was like, but yeah, but we relate. We're all one because we as Black Americans have our struggles, but you as Asians and everybody else, you guys have your struggles as well. So we're all one and we're all related because we all struggle equally. And that's what the Black Panthers were doing at that time, because even over there in Oakland, Huey P. Newton and the Panthers, they weren't only appealing to Black people, but they were spreading that ideology to the Latino Americans and the Asian Americans as well. So he kind of sucked Richard Aoki in with that. Like, even though Richard's like, hey, I'm Japanese American. Meanwhile, you guys are Black American. But he sucked him in with the communist ideology. But yeah, like we're all one. We all have the same struggle at the hands of white people. So he actually like indulged into that and continue supplying them with ammo and everything like that. And you can say that he was a part of the Black Panthers. So much with the FBI. Yes, the FBI was doing a lot of infiltration with the Black Panthers. They did it with the Nation of Islam as well. We can't deny that or whatever. But there was this guy, Bergie Threadgill. He had told this guy, Seth Rosenfeld, he was like, hey, I got this guy, Richard Aoki. He's an informant of the Black Panthers. And I remember when I seen this a few years ago, like I'm just looking into it and I'm hearing the recorded conversation or whatever, and I could just tell like in a quick 1 or 2 minutes when this guy Seth is talking to Richard Aoki trying to get information out of him. Richard was just like, "Oh yeah, really? Is that what happened? Oh," like he was asking Richard, does he know about the guy Bergie who told him about him to begin with, saying that he's an informant. So when they were actually talking to this guy Richard, he was just kind of laughing and throwing their questions back at them. So in like 1 or 2 minutes, I already knew like there is no recording of him snitching. He's not a snitch. He didn't cooperate. I mean, you could say he's a Marxist, you could say he's a communist, and all these things, which were actually true, but he did not cooperate and throw the Black Panthers under the bus. Richard Aoki himself, like he was actually solid. He stood on whatever he believed, right? So it was so much to where Seth Rosenfeld went on to sue the FBI because he's like, you guys put me onto this case to see this guy's an informant, which will open up a can of worms, and I can see all the activities of the Black Panthers, of how they're here in Oakland and how they connect with the other sectors of the Black Panther members. But there was nothing. He didn't snitch. The guy, he didn't snitch. So it's like, but then you have someone like William O'Neill on the Chicago sector that snitched on Fred Hampton. Like, yeah, he snitched.
Was
So it's
William
like, hmm?
was William O'Neill black?
Yes.
Ah, no, I'm playing. I'm playing.
That's what and thanks for mentioning that, because that's what I'm saying. They're trying to make it like, oh, Richard Aoki is this Japanese guy. Oh, what's the Black Panthers to him? Of course he cooperated. But no, he didn't. He didn't cooperate. But William O'Neill threw Fred Hampton under the bus over there in Chicago. And that's just only one person. There were a lot of Black Panther, like the Black males and the Black Panthers that were informers. that were throwing their own under the bus. So to this day, they try to make it like, oh, Richard Aoki, former Black Panther, but he's an informant. No, he's not an informant. He's not an informant. So it's just um so going into the FBI, did the FBI break down the Black Panthers? The Black Panthers broke down the Black Panthers. And when you just read what you were just reading about Huey P. Newton alone, like look at the degeneracy and the evilness that he's doing. Like he raped Bobby Seals, he raped Eldridge Cleaver. I didn't know that part about it. Um, and not only that, he was having gay relations with white men as well, Huey P. Newton. And it's just and he was speaking for gay rights. So that's why I'm saying that it took me years to get here to even put BLM and Black Panthers in the same category. But hypothetically speaking, if Huey P. Newton was still alive, he would have been right there with BLM and LGBT and feminism and all that. He would have been speaking for the LGBT movement because that's what he did back in his prime. And it's the same difference.
Yeah, I'm just at the point where I'm just like everything labeled black is Marxist, and it's really sad too because that's what the youth identify with, and it's really I think it really puts a hindrance on your spiritual development. The comments are coming in. I couldn't address
Yes,
all of them at
Huey P.
one time.
Newton was gay. He
Yeah.
didn't even
He,
reproduce.
he
He didn't
was he
even
was
have his. He didn't even have his own children.
I would say that he was a pansexual. He just got down with anything. He
Yeah, he
wasn't.
just.
Gay means that you just inclined to the same sex, but he probably would get down with a tree if if if
Exactly.
need be. But
He probably was having sex with like Black Panthers,
yeah,
like the actual animals.
yeah, but I think that the thing is, I think that black people we've never really as a whole assimilated. And I don't know if that's because of the color of our skin or what, but it's like the Italians, the Irish, and all them. You look at an Italian or Irish man, I'm like, man, he's white. Like, I'm Italian. I'm like, that means you're from the factory, as far as I'm concerned, but you're still white. So, and then they say, oh, he's not white, he's Jewish. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, he's white. Like, dude got blonde hair, blue eyes. Well, it's a little curly. I'm like, but he's still white. Like, what do you mean? So, but my point is like all these other ethnicities or whatnot, they assimilated into being just Americans. And I
I
think
agree
I
because
think
like if you talk about like a Haitian, Ethiopian, Jamaican, they're not going to just say, oh, they're black. It tends to get very specific and separated as per culture, as per country. But you're right. Usually, typically, with let's say like a white person is born here, American, and then you have the white people from the UK or Scandinavia, and then the Russians and the Germans, and oh, they're white collectively. So I agree with you. You're right.
yeah, and I think that that's kind of like that's not good for the nation because a nation is not defined by borders. It's defined by collective ideas and mores and principles and whatnot. So of course you have your subcultures within a nation, but it's like those cultures still like, well, this is our nation. We got to defend our house. And I think you know the representative sample of black people, not black people as a whole. I think the people that are representative of black people, they have totally rejected the notion of being American. So instead of American, you're anything but that. So to be American is to be like a colonist or white supremacist and or a sellout and all that. And I'm just like, well, what are you then? I'm black. I'm like, well, what country is black? Black is not a country. Black has no language or it's not a nation or whatnot. So I'm just like, well, I mean, go start a nation. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's how you want to get down, I mean, that's how these white folks got down. You know, they had beef with the king, and they're like, okay, well, cool, we'll start our own nation. Well, go start your own nation. But these niggas will rather destroy what's been built, and you know that's I don't want to say that's feminine, but
Kind of is. It's very emotional and very impulsive.
what I when I okay, so like females are very females consume. You know that's why if you're gonna be a head of a household, you have to be productive because when you have a wife, just by virtue of how she's built, she's gonna consume resources, but it's necessary because you know she brings forth life, and so she needs something to for her body to sustain that life that she's bringing forth, and then once she brings forth that life, she nurtures that life and brings it up to age to where you know it's strong enough to sustain itself. So we talk about like consuming and you know just I'm not gonna say
And black
destroying.
people are over here messing up the fruits and everything that's given to them.
Yeah, just I'm just saying like you just to say that we need to redo the founding documents. Like I was working with a young lady the other day, and you know she was like we need to redo we need to redo the founding documents, and I was like why? She was just like we just need to. It doesn't work, you know. And I was trying to explain to her how the founding documents are anti-tyrannical. You know um they keep tyrants from rising up. You know, because like if one man has power, the thing about that is like okay, so you tear down the Constitution, you rip it to shreds. That's going to create a power vacuum. Now the person with the biggest gun is going to rise to power, and you know you really see a man's character when he has power. You give a righteous man power. He may rule righteously, or the power may corrupt him. You give a wicked man power, he's gonna be wicked to the bone. You know, so it's like you don't ever want power concentrated. That's the whole point of being a citizen, rather than being a subject of of a of a royal sovereign. You know, you have a king, and then everybody is subject to the king. Whereas in our nation, we have citizens where everybody's subject to the law of the land. But in turn, we're all sovereign. The law of the land is the highest authority, but you know, we're all sovereign people, meaning that everything we have is subject to us. You know, we control the fruits of our labor. You know, we don't we're not under the authority of somebody. You know, and that's the thing that that that's the tactics that you know these politicians. I'm not even going to say Democrats because Republicans do it too. When we start talking about taxing, when you start taxing people, you're basically telling them what you produced is not yours. So you worked hard, you busted your ass, you produced it, and I'm gonna take my cut, nigga. What you gonna do? You know, so
Yeah,
that's
literally.
you know that's what's going on, and you know this thing about taxation. That's why history is so important. Real history that is pertinent to our everyday lives. We didn't always have a system where we were taxed for everything. Taxation is extortion. Taxation is tyranny. You know, and if you don't pay your taxes, then they're gonna throw you in jail. And taxes, like I said on the last slide, it violates the Fourth Amendment. No, you're not. They're not supposed to take anything from you or confiscate anything. Um, you know, if you don't break any kind of law or anything like that. So I don't know. It's you know we grow up. You know, I was born in '86, so this is all I know. All I know is taxes. You know, I came of age and you know I graduated from high school in '05. So this is I know. So I don't know any kind of reality outside of this framework. But if you look at history, you you read how people lived and how society was ran, and people weren't just paying taxes, but in turn, people were more responsible for their people more responsible for their own welfare. It's kind of like the whole health insurance thing. Like what made me really hate Barack Obama was the whole healthcare thing, because healthcare is one of the issues
Obamacare.
that I care. Healthcare is something I care about, and you know if our healthcare system was actually healthcare and not just disease management or disease causation, I wouldn't mind paying $15 a month. So so people would have a little bit of healthcare. I wouldn't mind that, as long as it's voluntary. And I think if you make things voluntary, then people would be more inclined,
Because they
to
know
do
what
it.
they're signing up for,
Yeah, but
essentially.
rather rather you're forcing people to pay into a system that doesn't that is kind of like it's a misnomer from beginning. Healthcare, no, it's disease management, and it's disease management and disease causation. It's like it's like it's like a woman is on his menopause, right? She hits menopause, and they give her estradiol. Estradiol makes her symptoms worse. Estradiol is carcinogenic, whereas they should be giving her progesterone. Progesterone is the youth hormone. It's the female hormone. It's what makes y'all young and fun. It what makes y'all smell good and all that. But they'll give her estradiol. They'll make her hot flashes worse. She'll be like a real bitch, and she'll be destroying everything and everybody she comes in contact with because she's cranky as hell. So these are things that our healthcare system does, and instead of instead of really evolving, they'd rather just keep the public ignorant. And you have women. I had a friend back in the day, and I was arguing against Obamacare, and she was like, "Well, some women need birth control." I'm like, you need birth control? I'm like, birth control is gonna make you infertile. She was like, well, what about if I don't want to get pregnant? I'm like, well, stop having sex. I'm like, duh. You know what I'm saying? Like she's like, okay, well, I have irregular cycles. I'm like, then your hormones are messed up. Adding adding like a synthetic endocrine disruptor is not going to make you better. It's going to make you worse. But they don't teach people these basic things because ignorance is a billion-dollar industry. So I don't know. It's just a lot. Like Obama was. I don't know anything he did good. Like I just I don't know. Like he's the man's. Anyway, you got anything to add to that?
Well, he gave out Obama phones.
I didn't get no phone. I I mean my. The one bill I hate paying is my phone bill and my internet bill. I hate paying those bills, but whatever. I wish we can go back to like 1990 when everybody didn't have a phone.
The real world, right?
Yeah, where everybody was, where you had to talk to people, where you had to instead of asking for a girl's social media, you have to like ask for her phone number.
Put in the work.
Yeah, you gotta like actually like muster up some courage to go talk to somebody, but instead, like, nope, not today. Obama is what made me interested in politics. He was a real wake up call. Yeah, but anyway. All right, so what we got next? Angela Davis.
Yeah, I know you wanted to get into the lesbianism of the black woman in the Panthers, which I always found interesting as well. I remember I wanted to do a video. Uh, I didn't get around to doing it, but I was going to title it Black Lesbianism is Always the Result of Lack of Leadership for Black Men. So that pretty much goes into the, like, the Black Panthers would be one sector of that. and Angela Davis and the other woman or whatever. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, well, you pop your shit first.
Um, I know with Angela Davis, you could kind of tell, like when you look back in hindsight, you could tell she was a lesbian. But then, she ended up getting married to this guy, like late 70s, early 80s. She ended up getting married probably for like 3 years.
Was he
But
white?
then,
Was
huh?
he white?
No, he was black. He was actually dark skinned.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that was probably like on Front Street, like she's the light skinned, power for the people, black people. And then,
Well,
he gets married. Hmm?
light skinned women like dark skinned men. I don't know what it is,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
yeah, I just
So I
don't know. Like
don't know
most,
if that was a facade, like he was just a beard, or, you know, not only for her sexuality, but, she's light skinned and he's dark skinned and she's a Black Panther. So it kind of fit her narrative. But that marriage only lasted for 3 years. But yeah, but these past couple of 2 decades or so, she's been happy living with a woman. She's a lesbian. Um,
you out there mowing lawns and stuff.
yeah. So yeah, what do you think of that, like the lesbianism in Black Panthers? And I'm sure it was happening outside of, like, not to say that a woman had to necessarily be a Black Panther, um, but I know heavy with the feminist movement, even though it intermingles with Black Panthers. There were Black lesbian women. Some of them were messing with white women, and all these things were going on late 60s, 70s, and stuff like that. So, what is your knowledge to that, or what do you think of that?
Well, I can only speak to I can only speak to my anecdotal experiences, and one thing I know about that lifestyle is that um, you can only radicalize a person that's broken, and many of those many people that practice that lifestyle have some kind of extreme trauma in their childhood that they never dealt with. So they're really victims, and when they grow up, they're trying to cope somehow with that type of with that trauma that happened, and then you have some person that is a predator comes and just say, hey, this is how you are. Just go ahead and come on to this side. It's okay. I don't know if you've seen Higher Learning with Omar
Yes.
Epps and Ty Banks,
Mm-hmm. Tyra
but
Banks.
yeah, you remember that white girl that got assaulted at the beginning, or at the first, what they call the stanza or whatever. But that lesbian chick, she came in and she saw that she was vulnerable. She came in and took advantage of that. And you know, if you look at all these people now that are in these movements. None of them have any joy in life. None of them. A lot of them join these movements so they can have some kind of purpose. And there are a lot of people that have been sexually violated as children. That is very rampant in this society, and nobody saying anything about it. But the only way that you can get over something like that is, if you have a strong spiritual framework. If you're very rooted in the Word of God, and that's why organizations like the Panthers, they're anti-God, because they feed on people's traumas. They people that are traumatized, people that are going through something. One of the worst traumas that humans feel is loneliness, being alone. I'm not seen. So you have a sense of hopelessness. So then you have some slick talking dude coming, hey baby, I see what you're going through. Come on over with me. I put you on the stroll. Daddy loves you and all that. So and then the woman just wanting to have some kind of like love. She she clings to the man. The man beats her, but at the same time he's indoctrinating her. This is what the Panthers were doing. They're a bunch of a bunch of gangsters and pimps. You know what? And what does rap music glorify? Gangsters
Same.
and pimps. You know what I'm saying? So you know, as far as the particulars of the Panthers, I do know. I was reading an excerpt. Golly, I should have saved it. Should have bookmarked it. But there was one of the leaders, one of the leaders of the Panthers. She was saying how one of the guys had beat one of the women into a coma. They beat her so bad she was in a hospital, and that's how a lot of this lesbianism started, like coming into the movement. They basically
The
turned them.
lesbianism mixed with the feminism, just emotional reaction and trauma.
Well, I think the trauma led to the feminism. I think feminism is kind of like feminism is lashing out.
Coping
You know,
mechanism.
it's a coping mechanism to the lack of male love, or the male, the
Guidance and
male, the
leadership.
nah, not that, but like if a man, if you're a victim to some man, then I think that feminism is kind of like it's a response to that. It's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Never give people bullets to shoot you with. So a woman is abused by a man, and then she becomes a feminist. She's like, all the men I ever trusted betrayed me. So now I'm only a feminist, and feminism is the gateway into lesbianism. So there's gonna be a lot of there's gonna be the mental health industry is gonna be booming in the next 15 years, because our, like us, like people in our age group are going to be like 50 years old, and the women are going to be past their childbearing years, and they're going to be lonely, without children, without a husband, and what else are they going to do? They're going to resort to to chemical coping mechanisms. So I don't know. And I think that this can change. I think that stuff like what we're doing, I think it's good, because I think that we have what it takes to save our generation. People need to start getting married, start having more children, start prospering. You know, that's what life is all about. Passing on not just your genes, but your values onto the next generation. And I think that everybody takes joy in that. There's a huge joy in just giving, and I think that a lot of young women were duped into believing that life is all about them. Everything is about you hear stuff like you hear stuff you hear things like women will break up their relationships. They'll be like, well, like T.O. Mowry, yeah. Well, what about my happiness? I just wanted to be happy and shit like that. And I'm just like, look, life is not all peaches, roses, unicorns, and fairies. There are gonna be times in your life where you have to weather these storms, but that's
Isn't
life.
it so crazy how her and Tamara like are living polar opposites? Like Tamara has the whole she's married, she has her children, living beautifully. Um, and Tia just she seems
Tia,
lonely. The way she posts her statuses and everything like that, and even to where it goes to the shade room and she's replying back to the fans and oh, I'm not going back to him or, going back to my marriage. I left it for a reason. Why go back to something? She does a lot of thirst trap stuff, Tia. It's just funny how even just let alone Tia and Tamara, they're really different.
yeah, yeah,
It's
and,
like
and
one of them is a liberal and one of them is conservative as being twins.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, Leatherface, Tia is worldly. That's
Tia,
correct.
Tia needs to stop posting thirst traps, because like
Yes.
she not built like that. Like, she bad built. Um, she just she's just like what they say, cringe. Like
Yeah.
she be dancing, she be dancing. And I'm like, you got no kind of like real. I don't know.
It's
I
like
mean, she not
when
a
you look at them too, like for instance, they just posted up pictures today. They were at some type of award or gala or something like that yesterday. Uh, Tamira had on like this nice red dress, and Tia had on like a suit, and it kind of just I was like, wow, like Tia is looking older, and Tamara is looking younger. And don't get me wrong, when I grew up, just like everyone else that grew up watching Sister Sister, it's funny, like the way that they played those roles, come to find out, it's really the opposite of who they are in real life.
yeah,
But that just goes to show you, I only interpret that as they have really good acting skills. They were pretty much acting like each other in the show.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's,
That's a
you
good
know, which I
observation.
think that's pretty cool, just, for what it is. But when you look at them now, Tamara's all about her husband. She's all about her children. And Tia was like that, but it just wasn't sustainable for her. And now that Tia
No,
has
she
been
was.
single, what, for almost two
No,
years?
she wasn't. She wasn't like that on the show. You remember?
But oh, when they did the reality show with the two sisters later on, like
No, on Sister Sister. Remember when they were in college and
yes,
Tia was dating
Tyreek.
Tyreek,
Mm-hmm.
and then Tia fell in love with a professor that was married.
That's true.
Then,
Yeah,
then she tried to go back to Tyreek, and he was like,
yeah,
"Nah, like don't
yeah.
come back." So, I don't know, but I,
But yeah,
I,
Tia is starting in real life right now. Like she's aging, and she's with the whole hot girl summer,
she,
black girl magic, those
she,
kind of things.
she's
Tia
in
is
she's
with
in
all of that.
she's in the Sister Girl Mafia.
Exactly,
Those those
exactly.
those chicks age quickly.
And
You know they
Tamara isn't.
yeah. Tamara's married to a white man, so she can't be in the mafia. She can't be in the Sister Girl Mafia. But I don't
It's
know.
funny because I remember there was like, I don't know, they had a gathering. It was, the whole family, the siblings, um and everybody was shocked that when Tia and Tamara, when both of them were dancing or whatever, people were shocked that Tamara had more rhythm than Tia. It's just the way the black community comes at them, just because Tamara has a white husband and Tia had a black husband, it automatically made it to where Tia is the favorite sister. And it's just, again, this goes into the toxicity of black culture. It's really whack. It's corny.
Yeah, like I don't like those stereotypes. You know, like you know, like the whole dancing stereotype of black people. Like all black people can dance. All black people cannot dance. Like it's like all black people can't play basketball. It's just and all white people are not like nerdy and talk like this. Like
And
those
kind of like you said a few weeks ago in one of our lives, you said that that's brought on by the up north people, right?
yeah,
Like in
yeah,
this
those
south, you guys aren't really doing that type
we
of.
we just everybody's country down here. Like we just
Yeah,
country. Like y'all,
yeah.
them New York cats, all that yo son and you know word to mother yo and God and all that. Like y'all, that's I don't know about all that. Like
That's why I
I'm
love the South. When I go to the South, and this is just my experience, like I don't even think about color and stuff. I just get along with everybody in the South,
yes,
whatever southern state I've been to.
yeah
So
Southern hospitality is a real thing. Like I will say that it's a real thing. But I mean they're liberal people down here. I mean the city I'm in like it's purple. Like
how do you feel about like New Yorkers and Cali and everybody coming down there? Like I want to call it North washing. I don't like that. And mind you, I'm a New England girl, tri-state chick, but I don't like the idea of northern people north washing the South, whether it's the Carolinas, whether it's Georgia, Florida, Texas, whatever state that may be, Tennessee. Um,
I think that
it's immigration within
I mean I
America.
don't I think okay, so I feel two ways about that. I think that the people moving, they're not gonna they're trying to get away from the environment they came from. So The Tamara is the conservative twin. I think that they're
Yeah,
asking that.
Tamara's the
But
conservative twin.
but what's it called? The people that are moving here, they're trying to get away from
They're
that
fleeing
environment.
communism.
Yeah, so
Live
they're
in America.
yeah. You say send them. The only my issue is like they're making the housing prices go up, and
Yeah, definitely.
it's causing more traffic. But
Yes.
other than that, I think that we need to stop with this whole thing about let California and New York burn because they're still America, and
Yeah,
those are some of California is one of the most beautiful states, like landscaping wise. They got mountains, they got the sea right next to it,
the longest
and
palm trees.
yeah,
It's so beautiful.
and if we just let the communists take it over, they get all those resources, and
That's it.
yeah, and then now we got a communist country sandwiching us, and then we got New York on this side sandwiching us, and that's why I don't necessarily like what our governor's doing, flying those immigrants to these sanctuary cities. I think that he needs to just send them back to their country, but maybe deportation is a federal thing, and maybe he doesn't have the authority to send them back. But I mean, the federal government is breaking the rules anyway, so like, why don't we all just break the rules? But I think that
Yeah, he's saying like if you guys like when he sent them to Martha's Vineyard and whatever, like if you Democrats or liberals in your blue zone areas want to sit there and promote immigration, okay, I'm gonna send them up to you.
yeah, and
And
that's
then what it's doing is actually waking up people like in Chicago, New York, even the black community, and they're like, oh no, 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 we can't handle this. So now it's like, what are we gonna do moving forward? Now that you guys see what people were warning you about, you guys kept calling everybody racist. We weren't being racist. We're just telling you you have to look at this immigration situation as if somebody's coming into your yard. Would you want all these people just coming into your yard, and are you going to just take them in and let them live in your house, like literally? And that's why I'm saying, like, Talib Kweli, he blocked me during that time. I think it was DeSantis he sent the immigrants over to Kamala Harris's house or something. Because I know between Gregory Abbott and DeSantis, they've been, like you said, they've been sending these immigrants up north. And Talib Kweli was calling me a coon and all types of things, and ended up blocking me because I'm like, no, this is wrong. And we were
Tyler
just
Quality.
going back at it, back and forth and stuff. And I don't know.
Tyler Quality's lame.
Yeah,
Like
it's funny because I used to love Talib Kweli and Most Def and
high
you
tech
know, huh?
and high tech. His D
Which one is that?
his
That's his
DJ.
DJ.
Yeah.
I
You don't remember
whatever
that
that group. What's
song?
it? What's the Star? Black Star?
Black
That's what
Star.
they're
That's
called.
the most
Yeah,
deaf.
Black Star. I
Yeah.
used to, because that's how I used to be or whatever. So
I used to
I used
like that
to
song, The Blast.
the blast.
Yeah,
I used to
yeah,
love to get by and to be free. I want my people to be free by Most Def.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that I mean we are free. It's just these niggas need to free their mind. Like these niggas are slaves. These niggas still want to be slaves and stuff like that. Slavery been over since like 1865, and you still want to be slave. Like I don't understand that whole thing about I want to identify with the loser. Like, and that's what communism and Marxism is. Like, I want to be on the losing team so I can bitch, moan, and complain. Like,
I'm telling you, that's what Huey P. Newton was telling Richard Aoki. Like, yeah, you're Japanese, but we're the Black Panthers, but we all struggle the same. You could be down with us. And it doesn't get any more communist in 111 than that.
yeah, Japan. You got I told you about Japan, right?
Yeah, about like the decrease in repopulating and just
Yeah,
like the disconnect
yeah,
with the men and women.
yeah.
And yeah,
The 15 to 35-year-old men, they don't want to have sex. All they want to do is watch anime and play video games
yes,
all day. And so and most of their population is old. So You know that economy they built, their country is going to collapse because they don't have they're not producing, they're not reproducing, they're not replacing, themselves. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But that's what happens when you're in a godless society. The first commandment was to be fruitful and multiply
And that's
and
why
repopulate.
their women prefer black men.
No, it's
The
not.
Japanese?
No, it's
You
not.
talk about is he talking about the Japanese?
Yeah,
We're getting pretty much
uh,
anyone
they'll,
except
yeah,
Japanese
they'll
men.
take anybody. It's not just black men. They'll take anybody. But
The woman, you talking about the Japanese woman.
yeah, yeah, I like Japanese women. Like they I don't know. I don't know. I just like Japanese women. They like that. I don't know if you remember that Miss Universe, that one. She was Japanese. She was actually black. Her dad was black. Her mom was Japanese. Her name was
Yeah, it's
like
a pretty
Ari.
mix.
You said what?
That's a pretty mix.
Yeah, her name was Ariana something. But like she was fine, fine. But she married a Japanese man. I tried to shoot my shot, but she wasn't having it. She did like a samurai. Nah, never mind. I was gonna say a samurai joke, but
I
like that's not cool.
think the Japanese culture, like, you know how people try to be like Japanese, Chinese is the same? It's not the
It's
same.
not the same. Oh
It's
no, it's
totally
not.
not the
It
same.
is not.
And I tell people like I'll eat Japanese food, but I don't eat Chinese food. And I would even go as much as I would visit Japan, but I don't want to visit China.
You
I
don't
don't
like
look
eating
at
dog?
them. Hmm?
You don't like sweet and sour canine?
Oh my God. I'm good. I'm good on, you
You don't
know,
like lo
food.
mein? You don't like lo mein and
Oh
cat?
my God. Like
Nah,
I'm one of those. I want to go to Thailand and Japan. I'm one of those people. I'll visit those countries, but China, I'm just not. Chinese and Japanese are totally different. I'm even fascinated with like how Japanese, like when I hear certain Japanese names, it kind of has like an African touch to it.
yeah,
It's just I don't know. I just the Japanese culture is just totally different, from China.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
different people. They're
different
not
people.
they're not the
Yeah,
same stock.
no, they're not the same.
I that's something that's always interested me, like different ethnicities spread out, and the origin of certain ethnicities, and how people mixed over the centuries, and all that. That always interested me because I don't think you can confine a group of people to a region because people migrate. You have semblances of other cultures in different regions because of mass migration. You see that a lot in Africa. I mean, even
Central
in the United.
America, South
Yeah,
America.
you see that. Oh, you see that a lot in South America. Like there's a
Yeah,
lot of African culture. There's a lot of remnant of African cultures in South America, especially
Brazil.
Brazil. Brazil has
Hmm.
a large black population, and that's the thing. Like most of the slaves, in the slave trade, actually went to South America. Like only a handful came to America, and then a lot of blacks were already here. You see that in the names. Like a lot of people think they have slave names, but no, that's actually their real name. Names like Douglas, Stewart, like McKinley and all that. There was a large black population in Ireland. I don't know if you've seen there was a movie, The Last King of Scotland, with Forrest Whitaker. There was a lot of there was a ruling there was a
That's about Black Americans in Ireland. I
no,
didn't
it's
watch that
about
movie because I
black.
know a lot of Irish
It
people
was
went
it
to
was
Jamaica,
Scotland.
Scotland.
Scotland. Yeah. There was a black population, a notable black population in Europe, in times in like up until like the 1700s, when a lot of them started coming to the Americas as indentured servants. And then you did have some Africans that came, via the slave trade, but I don't believe that they were in a bunch of like cargo ships stacked on top of each other, swimming in their own feces and all that stuff. Like
Wait,
that's
what
stupid
country
because
was that?
what I'm saying, like there were actual Africans that were taken from Africa and brought here, but I don't believe that they were in like these big cargo ships
Oh,
laying on
like
top.
under,
You know,
yeah,
that's stupid. If you're bringing humans here, you know, to work, you need those humans to be
yeah, they
healthy.
can't be under
Like, yeah,
hospital
that's counter.
circumstances.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
That's
I'm
true.
just like, you know, now that I'm a man and I understand economics, I'm just like a lot of this shit that they tell us don't make sense. You know, all economy is it's just the flow of resources within a house. You know, like if you break down the word, like oikos means home, nomos, you know, order or law. So it means the order of the household. Everybody is their own economy. Like, you know, the Bible talks about your body as a temple. The temple was always called the house in the Bible. So, you know, you have your own personal economy, you know, intrinsically and extrinsically. You know, when I say I mean when I say intrinsically, I'm talking about like your physiological economy. You know, like if you're stressed a lot, you're gonna be tired because your body is going towards you know, trying to fight that stress or whatnot. And then, you know, what emanates from your imagination, you know, your hands, you know, the work of your hands, you know, your human capital, you know, that's one of your resources. You know, that's the ultimate resource you have, you know, power over your own personhood. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think that a lot of Americans don't understand that concept of economy as a whole. And if you understood that, then you'll understand geopolitics, and you know, you'll understand why people get conquered and why people come in and, you know, make deals and all that stuff like that. And it's really just elementary if people just break it down to its lowest level. You know, everybody is going to do what's best for them ultimately. You know, I'm gonna do what's best for me, you know. And if I have a family, I'm gonna do what's best for my family. And if I'm in a community, then I'm gonna do what's beneficial to my community. You know, that's economy. That's macro to mic. That's micro to macro. You know, so I just don't think that a lot of Americans understand that. And communism is never in the best interest of the individual. And if something doesn't serve the individual, it's not going to serve it's not going to bode well on a macro level.
No.
So anyway, I don't know how we started talking. Oh yeah, we're talking about Japan and its economy. But um, anyway, what else we got? We got any other topics?
Speaking of the Black Panthers, what do you think about Tupac? Just
I think
overall, like, because I know when you were describing Huey P. Newton, like the switch up, like 1 minute he's this way, 1 minute he's that way, and we could say that about Tupac, but Tupac actually took like acting classes in Baltimore. Um, so, and then not to mention Tupac is a Gemini, however anybody feels about that, but like Gemini is like 1 minute you're this way, 1 minute you're that way. Um, but what do you think about Tupac overall? Like I love Pac, and I just can't get over that love that I have for him. Um, I just see a lot of similarities with me and him, the way he thinks, the way he talks, and how he's open. And you think like he passed away at the age of 24, and here I am, 34 years old. I feel like no matter how old I get, every time I look at a clip of Tupac talking, it's like maybe he was 19 or 20 or 24, and it'll forever feel like he's older than me, if you understand what I'm saying. And
yeah,
he was
I think
just hmm,
that's that that's that nostalgia.
the
Um,
wisdom.
I just I just dropped something in the chat. Go to the if anybody's interested in Tupac, go to that channel. Teaching Chuck was on that channel earlier. He was talking about how rap is you know, how rap is was, you know, the communism was already baked into rap music from its inception. Like looking back and just knowing what I know, Tupac was he was a very talented nutcase. I think I think he got caught in the role of Bishop. I think he got stuck in that role. Um,
With Death Row ultimately, right?
yeah, I think he had like some kind of like multiple personality thing. He may have been an MK Ultra asset. I don't know, but you know,
You're
you
not the
look,
first person to say that, like in a sense of him being like a psyop or a plant. Because I hear
yeah, yeah,
people say that about him over as the years have passed by. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, let me ask you this. You know, why do you feel he was so wise? Like, what did he say that was wise?
Um,
Or he was a
well, what
charming.
I was
He
about to
was
say
a
the most basic thing when he said, they have money for war but can't feed the poor. And it seemed to me overall like obviously his mother was a Black Panther,
so
and
he was a communist.
he's a
Yeah,
communist.
so he
But
was too.
again, he passed away at 24, if
Hmm.
that's even real or whatever. But just the age of 24 for a man, to me, that's still a man that's growing. Um, I don't know. I think I was just very intrigued with how he was a good actor and how he could. I was intrigued with the switch up.
So you were charmed. He was charming.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, he
Because I
was.
don't know. I was very
No,
intrigued with
he,
his knowledge and how the way he spoke and the way he was just very,
okay,
very open. Like he just said what's on his
okay.
mind.
That's not wise. It's not wise.
It's not.
The Bible tells you to, you know, only a fool, only a fool will you know, will speak his heart just to be heard. Or, you know, something of that nature. You know, it
But
says,
I'm telling you, no matter how old I get, every time I watch him, he's
okay,
19, he's
okay,
23, he's
all right,
24, nothing higher than that. And he was stating the facts, and it's just, it still feels like I could be 70 years old and I watch Tupac at 23 years old, and it still feels like he's older than me.
okay.
And with age comes being wise.
No, I don't agree with age. It comes wisdom. Wisdom comes from God. But that's just that's just what I think. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to like shoot you down or
Well,
anything. But
yes, wisdom does come from God,
and he was
but we
not a godly person.
experience and we grow to catch that wisdom as we get older.
Mm, well, let's since since you feel like he's older than you, let's break down that that line.
Actually is though. At the end of the day,
They got money for war, but can't.
Leatherface Tupac was a crack baby.
He was. He even
Just a
said it.
Marxist, emotional, effeminate boy.
Yeah, he
You know,
was.
it's funny that
He
he
was
said
very.
that because a lot of people will call him feminine and gay
He is. He was effeminate.
in his
When I
mannerisms.
look, no, just in his in his in how he comported himself. He was very feminine. Like he would hyper emotional, crying. Like he was crying with Maya Angelou. You know, because he had lost his temper on the set of Poetic Justice and all that. That's the guy that they propped up to be the ultimate black man, Tupac, an emotional loose cannon. That the smart, intelligent thug. That's a psyop. Nipsey Hussle. That's the same thing. You know, they try to push that intelligent thug. Like a thug, a thug is a member of a Hindu cult that worships the goddess of death. No, it's true.
I
Look up
don't know. I don't know why I'm laughing.
look up the term thuggy. Thuggy Thuggies were they were a part of a Hindu cult that worshipped the god Kali, and they would sacrifice men to her. You know, she was a feminist goddess, so they would go around killing men as a sacrifice to her. What do thugs do? What is rapping all about? I'm gonna kill this nigga. I'm gonna kill that nigga. Like that's what it is. That's the energy that is conjuring up. So but let's go back to what you were saying about how they got money for war but can't feed the poor. Who has money for war? The government?
I think that's what he was talking about in the U. I think he was talking about the establishment, like U.S.
Okay, where does their money come from?
That's a good question.
It comes from the taxpayers. So nigga,
Yeah,
you have money for war. So nigga, you feed the poor. You know, I mean, I remember one time he was saying that.
but
And I
he's
said,
just saying on Front Street, like with the proceeds coming together, it's like they're not distributing it somehow in the right way, whatever. You figure he's a communist. They're not well, not saying he's a communist, but he was brought up under that leadership. They're not distributing it to us within the American citizens, and they're putting it into war and stuff.
All right.
Or now, as we see, fast forward, they're putting it into like Ukraine and Palestine, all these other things, and they're not giving it to us as Americans again. So he's speaking about what was on.
I'm trying to think of I'm thinking of something because I like one of my okay. So have you heard All Eyes on Me?
Yeah.
What was the first track?
Gosh, why do I have to? You say the first track.
My Ambitions as a Writer, right? What was the first? What was one of the first things he said? I won't deny you. I'm a straight rider. You don't want to fuck with me. And then he said, "Money over bitches." Money, right? I thought having money is bad, right? We should all have the same. Go feed the poor. Why you why you need all this money? Just give it to the poor.
Well, he's a switch up, you know.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like
What?
Kanye.
No, the Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. These are the type of people they put in front of men. So now in the 2000s era, you got everybody trying to be a thug. Everybody mean mugging in pictures. You got this fine woman next to you, and you over there trying to be a thug, mean mugging, taking a mug shot. Like, come on, like, come on. I mean, that's Tupac's
Get on
legacy.
track said Pac was a fugazi and sweet.
I believe that. What would you want to be with a man that's hyper emotional and that flies off the handle all the time?
No, but I don't see that in Pac.
How can you not? That's what he was. Like, what are you talking about? You don't see it. Like, do you remember the night he died at the casino fighting? And then those gangsters, they were like, they were like, Pac wasn't even about that life. The real gangsters were like, Pac was trying so hard to be a gangster.
Love Kaza said Jada does.
Jada is weird. Jada's a weirdo just like Pac. Like Jada was probably like the masculine person in that whole in that whole entanglement. She was probably the masculine one. You know, Pac was the man. He was barely a man. Like I don't like nah. I mean he can rap. I think Biggie was a better rapper, but
Oh, Biggie is a lyricist. Like Biggie's a
yeah,
lyricist, and Tupac is more poetic. Just like Jay-Z is a lyricist, and Nas is more poetic. Like Nas and Tupac, they're not like if you tell them to freestyle head on, they're not going to be top of the head like Jay-Z or Biggie. And that's
Jay
just a fact.
Z's a biter.
Yeah, he is.
He's a biter.
He's a capitalist.
And I mean he was a hypocrite too. I mean he's over here voting for Hillary Clinton. I remember I remember one of my favorite songs, Jay Z, "Come and Get Me." It
Hmm.
goes, Hillary Clinton was gun control, but Biggie didn't have the aesthetic. I mean, what is that to me? Like, I mean, I wasn't. I mean, what is that to? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, y'all are women, so that's y'all can have that. But okay. So Hillary Clinton was talking about gun control and all that. Jay Z had a song called "Come and Get Me." The
Yes.
last verse, it said, "I keep a banger in the ankle, one in the hip." That's two gun references. Two in the stash. One come up when I ship. I keep one under the chair where I sit. I even got a gun in the hair in the bun of my bitch. Ask Biggs every time he come to my crib, he found another gun that I hit. That's seven gun references in a verse, right? And this fool was over here telling people to vote for Hillary Clinton. That's how he got popular. Those those kind of lyrics. So I mean, all these people are they're disingenuous. They're typical communists. They want to advise everybody, and they want to have all the power, while everybody worships them.
It stays in the same place.
Yes, while
They stagnant.
yeah, you know. So these people are just not. They're not serious people. they
But
give you they
that's
give
what
you
I
these.
like about hip hop. I mean, you think of the average hip hop artist, they're very much pro Second Amendment, and that's what I like. Like I told you, like my New York rappers come first. That's just how I am. Um, and I just they're very
They're,
heavy pro Second Amendment. And I'm not
no,
saying that
no, they're
they're not.
not. They're pro anarchy. They're not pro Second Amendment. They're pro anarchy. You know that's they if they're pro Second Amendment, they should be coming out and voting Republican, but they don't. They're hyper capitalists, right? They
But
should be they should be
what
voting Republican.
well, I get it. With their platforms and everything like that, they should be on Front Street, you know. But with the hip hop culture, it's not appealing to the Republicans. So if they feel like it's not appealing to the Republicans, why should they fold to the Republicans
It
and
just
make the Republicans understand them? But really, at the end of the day, they are saying the same thing. Because I get that's why you asked that to begin with. They are saying the same thing as Republicans, like we're pro Second Amendment. Imagine you have a white male Republican conservative guy, and he's living on his street, and his kids go to school with a liberal crazy Looney Tune guy lives across the street. Their kids go to the same school and they both disagree on something that's happening in the school. And let's say that crazy liberal lunatic guy tries to come, he's a white liberal lunatic guy, and he tries to come across the street to shoot the white Republican guy's house up. And then the white Republican, he's pro Second Amendment, he's going to shoot him up and protect his yard. And I feel like that's what a lot of hip hop artists, that's their experience, that's what they speak on. And they might not be appealing to Republicans on that, but they're men, just like Republicans are men, and they're experience these same atrocities here in America. But if the Republicans don't want to be open to speak to them or come to the inner cities, so why should hip hop artists have to cave in and fold to them and speak to them?
just that's why I don't think everybody should get the right to have the right to vote because it's about representing interests. If one party represents your interests more, then you should identify with that party. So I don't know. I think that we need to I think that we need to bring back those poll tests where people have to have literacy tests in order to vote. Like the,
Not just women, for everybody.
yeah, everybody. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because a lot of people can't read past the fifth grade level, and it's sad. I didn't read about Angela Davis. You know, she wrote a letter to Jim Jones. Jim Jones was a friend.
You talking about the rapper or the juice man?
The guy that took all those people to Guyana
Yeah, the
and
guy.
they drink that juice and died.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the story. I don't know. I've kind of like learned not to totally speak on things I don't know. But he was a communist.
Oh,
But
definitely.
this letter, it says, this is Angela Davis. I would like to say, my friend Jim Jones and all my sisters and brothers from the People's Temple who are in Guyana there. Know that there are people here, not only in San Francisco Bay Area, but also across the country, who are supporting you, who are with you. I can personally speak on the National Alliance Against Racism and Political Oppression in cities throughout the country, from Birmingham to that. It says in Audible, there are people who are aware of contributions of the People's Temple to our efforts. For example, Free Reverend Ben Chavis and the Wilmington 10. We know that you have participated and brought people to all the marches, demonstrations, thousands of petitions that have sent government officials have been circulated and signed by the members of the People's Temple. And so we are very deeply obligated to you for what you have done to further the fight for justice, to further the struggle against oppression, and to further the fight against racism. This is all stuff that people are saying today. This was written in 1977. Like, yeah, these are the progenitors of Black Lives Matter and whatnot. So I don't know. Anyway, anything else we missed?
Um, what do you think about Ashada Shakur? Like the New Jersey Turnpike, how she killed a cop, and she got sentenced to prison and she fled from prison, went to exile into Cuba. You know, it's funny because when we talk about communism, these Black Panthers, whether it's Huey P. Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, uh, Angela Davis, Rashada Shakur, they all had Cuba as their backbone. But
Why
then
is that?
to, because it's kind of like when you think of connecting it to BLM today,
No,
they use people like Kaepernick and
no.
LeBron to
Why did they?
feed that
Why?
communist. Hmm?
Why did they flee to Cuba? What was
Because Cuba was under their own communist regime. That's the thing
exactly
with the Black Panthers, like Angela Davis and all of them, they were using Cuba,
exactly?
like, oh, like
Yep.
communism, like when Cuba was in the beginning stages of their accepting socialism, which led into full-blown communism, the Black Panthers were using Cuba, like not only by way of exile, but for their agenda, kind of like what BLM is doing today. Like they've used Kaepernick, they've used LeBron. This is what they were doing in the 1960s, 1970s with Cuba. Like they were
Yeah.
being there and using them for their agenda. Like Angela Davis, there was a time where she flew into Cuba. Imagine she flew into Cuba and Fidel Castro and the people of Cuba greeted her as soon as she came off the plane and sang a song to her. Like they dedicated a whole song to her and sang it to her as she came off the plane. And my whole problem with Angela Davis is she talks about all this communism and all this stuff. And it's like, but where were you back in July of 2021 when Cuba was blacked out off the grid? Cubans beaten to death. Like literally, like the revolution will not be televised. Like, where were you when they was getting beaten and slaughtered? Then Jen Psaki, the speaker of, at the time, came on the screen and was like, oh, the Cubans, they're really upset because we're not distributing enough vaccines over there. Bitch, that's not why the Cubans is, they're not even getting food and water and basic necessities. So when it's not that I'm trying to be a communist, but what I'm saying is to Angela Davis is like, you used Cuba for your agenda, just like a number of the other Black Panther members did as well. But as soon as they go blackout off the grid, you have nothing to say. You didn't do anything for them, and that's her Mayflower blood. She's a capitalist in the whole situation.
Well,
You promoted communism, but you're a capitalist, so
I
it's her Mayflower blood.
I won't say that it's. I wouldn't say that it's the Mayflower blood. I would say that Marxists Marxists are opportunists. So Marxists don't see people as valuable. You know, if they can't use you, then you're no longer valuable. If you're no longer valuable to their cause, so that's why you know death is not a thing to them because they don't really value life. So when people die, it's just like, well, that's par for the course.
But yeah, it's an opportunist thing, which is a
Yeah.
capitalist thing. And the Mayflower people were capitalist. But that's what I'm saying. With Angela Davis, she was promoting communism, but she's the communist. I mean, the capitalist. Just like Fidel Castro, he was the capitalist. Like Che Guevara was actually a real socialist, but Fidel Castro is literally he's a capitalist that wanted his people or made his people live under a communist regime. Because at the end of the day, you all get a slice of the pizza, but Fidel Castro, he gets the whole pie. He's the capitalist. It's evil. It's just very evil. It's very evil.
Yeah.
There was something else I had to say. I don't know, I forgot.
Yeah, they use people, and they capitalize off of the death. Over here, like with Black Lives Matter, they capitalize off the death of black men. They can care less about
Exactly.
black men. Even in their charter, they talk about everybody but men. They talk about we are gender affirming, we care for women, children, and it says nothing about men in their little manifesto or their little charter or whatever that nonsense was. But and it's funny because like when I like during the time, every all the women that I had conversations with, you know, they were all incensed. They were all like upset about George Floyd and all these people. Like, what about all these people dying? I'm like, you don't give a damn about those men dying. You don't care. I'm like, you didn't care when they're alive. I'm like, you see that man on the street. If you saw George Floyd on the street, you wouldn't care about him. You wouldn't date him, or you wouldn't give him any kind of attention. You don't care about him. Like, stop it. Like, just stop the bullshit. So it takes for a black man to die for you to care about him. That's the worship of death, and that's why a lot of people, they kind of wish they were dead, because then it's like, from dead, then I get attention and I get the love that I always long for. But that's the kind of culture that that that's pervasive, in the quote unquote black community. It's you treat people like crap when they're here, and then when they die, everybody has the airbrush T-shirts with a picture of the person on it. You don't care about them while they're here. You don't care enough about them to say stop what you're doing and get your life together. Don't hang around those people. But when they're dead and gone, when they die, unjust, not an unjust, but they die a death, that was really, I guess, coming to them. Then it's like, oh man, like rest in power and all that stuff like that. So, I think every culture in human history had a god. So when we talk about what we know as black culture, the god of black culture is the god of death. And I hate to be so, like, I hate to say that so sharply, but I
It's
mean, it is what it
true.
is. It is what it is. So
I mean, for me, out of all the Black Panthers, I still have love and admiration for Fred Hampton. Because one thing about me, it's like I could admire Fred Hampton because he was actually about the life that he lived. Like, okay, yeah, he's pro-black, he's Black Panther, had a black woman, and he went out, like, he died because he actually was a threat. Like, he did get killed by the FBI in front of his pregnant wife, like in their apartment while they're asleep over there in Chicago. And then, like I said, William O'Neill was the one, like, that infiltrated and cooperated on him. Like, you think Donnie Brasco was bad? Like, at least, like, with Donnie Brasco, there was, Donnie didn't really want to throw Lefty under the bus. He was very hesitant. But like when you talk about like William O'Neill and Fred Hampton, like it was just, goes into this black culture and the lack of loyalty within the black community, and it was just evil. And many people will say that Fred Hampton was a communist, but I'm just gonna say that he was only 21 years old. And like I feel like, yeah, you could say that he's a communist, and I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying a 21-year-old man, I just think that's like a baby to me. Not saying like, I'm just saying like a 21-year-old man is not fully grown. So like a 50-year-old man or a 40-year-old man could look at a 21-year-old man and know that he still has long ways to go in his life. You could be a 21-year-old man and have had whatever life it is that you had, but you still have ways to grow. So I'm just saying, from, if that's how Fred Hampton was at 21 years old, like whatever he said doesn't mean that it was necessarily right, but he was a man of action and he stood on it. Then I can only imagine, because if Eldridge Cleaver, could change and become a Republican, in Eldridge Cleaver, he used to rape black women, rape white women, and I'm just saying these are things that he admitted to, and he had a whole thing where he shot the police officers in the 1960s, like 1968, so much to where that time when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California, that when Eldridge Cleaver tried to do, like, speak at Berkeley College and everything over there in Oakland, Ronald Reagan was like, no, I don't want this man speaking, and he banned him from speaking. And then now it's fast forward nearly 20 years later, and after Eldridge Cleaver goes through all these changes, like he went to exile in Cuba, lived in Algeria, him and Kathleen had a kid in Algeria, and they're seeing different countries in the world, and he's like, wow, I left America and I went to all these other countries, but he came back to America humbled. He did prison time and stuff like that, but it was when he went to other countries like Cuba and Algeria, which is North Africa or whatever, he came back to America and he ended up changing. He did this weird thing where he tried to put the Christians and the Muslims together. He tried to call it Chrislam, which was whatever, that was weird. But then he did end up becoming a Christian, and he changed to being a Republican. And he even endorsed Ronald Reagan in the 1980s for Ronald Reagan's presidential bid or whatever. And so I'm just saying that if and that's Eldridge Cleaver. He was very deviant and did all these crazy acts and strange behavior. So if Eldridge Cleaver from the Black Panthers can change and lean towards Republican and conservatism, I'm pretty sure Fred Hampton uh, would have surpassed that in character. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. A 21-year-old
Well, I don't.
man is still young. He's a baby. I don't know.
Well, I don't know much about Eldridge Cleaver, so I can't really opine on that. But I'll say this. I'll tell you what I tell my cousin. My cousin's 15 years old, and I keep telling her, "You're a man. You're not a child." So, my saying is, if you can make a baby, you're not a baby, and you're responsible for the things that you do. So, 21 years old, you know full well what you're doing.
Oh
So,
yeah,
I can't, because you gotta personalize things. I have, like I say this: what is worse, killing one person or killing 100 people?
both. It's worse killing 100 people, but
Okay, okay, okay. So, what if that one person was one of yours? What would be worse?
that's what I'm saying. That's why it was hard for me to answer that. It's
Yeah,
because
it's
you
it's
kind of asked me which one is the lesser of two evils. It's both evil.
they're both evil. I thought
Yes.
you were gonna say killing 100 people. Most people would say killing 100, but I just say that you know, things, we tend to overlook people's transgressions because it doesn't affect us directly. And, and I don't know if I can really do that. Um, I was arguing with a pharmacist one time about vaccines, and I was just like, I don't agree. I don't agree with this compulsory vaccinations that we do in this country. And she said, "Oh, that's stupid. Like, what if the child gets sick and all this and dies?" I'm like, what are the statistics of that, of getting sick from one of these diseases that we're vaccinated against? I told her, like, when I was young, we didn't get the zoster vax. The zoster vax is the chicken pox, and I'm like, we got chicken pox and we were good. I'm like, nowadays, kids are getting the vaccine for chickenpox, and you don't know what it's doing to them. You got all these adjuvants in these vaccines that cause all these damages. She's like, well, what are the odds that they're gonna get sick? I'm like, what if it was your child that got sick? Then it's gonna feel a little different to you, And she was like, well, I'll take my chances. I'm like, well, you're an idiot. I'm glad you're not my mom. So I don't
People
know.
lack compassion.
People are just people don't think. That's one thing. That's one thing about me. I've always been a thinker. Whether I'm thinking right or wrong, I'm still thinking. Like sometimes I think if you look at me, you can see that thought bubble and you can see them gears turning. But no,
Yeah, you
I'm
think
playing.
outside the box. You go in depth, which is amazing.
I try to because I think we place limits on ourselves based on the things that we've been taught. So everything, like I don't like. I'm kind of like I kind of I kind of look at life like Neo on the Matrix. You never know what's possible till you try it. You know, so things that people say, limitations. A lot of our fears kind of hold us back, and that's why it's like what the Bible says. It says, "Prove all things and cling to that which is good." So I try to live by that. If you tell me something, I'm just like, prove it. You tell me the sky's purple and yellow, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Prove it. Now the burden of proof is on you. And a lot of people don't want to go there. So anyhow,
I'm just a female that shouldn't vote,
I mean,
so I don't know.
hey, if that's what you say, that's what you say. Anyhow, anybody got any questions?
He wasn't committing a crime though. That's Mr. J Marbles. So who wasn't committing a crime? I don't know if he's still there, but
It says Castro is no capitalist. Countless is a person who believes I can work and build something. Capitalist is a person who believes I can work and build something, take a risk, and somebody will want it, and somebody, anything that another, anything other than that is not a capitalist. A monopoly is not capitalist. A dictator is not a capitalist. It's a good point. Anytime the word black is used, it's 100 times out of 10 Fugazi. Like you said, only like you only know the Shakur family and no other Shakurs. They all just happen to do outlandish things. It says, being a creator of drill music, I'm definitely a Republican because of my taxes. Always cool. And as a Moorish American, well traveled, I can see the truth and take full accountability. Wow, the chat was active today. That's pretty good. Everybody watching, I appreciate you watching.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, you got anything else? Anything else for the people? That's what the title of this is called. It's called For the People.
That's what it's called. I I,
Yeah.
I titled it Now That Black History Month is Over.
What I call it the other day?
What crazy woman or something?
I
Delusional
said
woman?
I said nigga fiction month.
What? Nigga fiction month?
Yeah. I
Oh
should
wow. That's a good one.
I shouldn't say that because nah, I mean because a lot of it is embellished and like all like I mean it's just so many lies that I mean it's really just Communist History Month. Communist it's melanated Communist History Month. That's really what Black History Month is. They don't tell us about like they don't tell us about people like Annie Turnbull Malone. They don't tell us that she was the first black female millionaire in this country. They say it was Madam C.J. Walker. Annie Malone had more money than her. Annie Malone was her teacher. They don't talk about they don't tell us about Booker T. Washington exactly what he did. They tell us about all these people, but they don't tell us what they did. It's like my nephew one time came to my house. He said, "What is this?" I'm like, "That's such and such." He said, "What does it do?" I said, "That's a good question." And then he put it down. What is this? What does it do? I'm like, man, I like this kid. But they just tell us like they tell us about Martin Luther King. I'm like, what did he do? They don't tell us what he did. He fought for civil rights. Did he? How did he do that? What rights did people didn't have? If
I was never really a Martin Luther King person. I've always been more of a Malcolm X person.
yeah, I mean because the thing is, they show Malcolm X with the gun looking out his window, but Malcolm X was very much a leftist. He was cool with Fidel Castro.
Yeah, he was.
So I mean, like, I don't know, but anyway,
I'm
well,
unlearning many of my original
you
habits,
said
and
you're
I'm pretty
unlearning.
sure I'm unlearning a lot of my habits, and I'm pretty sure it shows in this video, in this live.
Well, I mean, look,
The way that I still speak highly of Fred Hampton, I still speak highly of Tupac.
all right, so
I was I was who I used to be.
I'm a, I'm gonna end this video on this. All right, so like, I've always been, a self-professing Christian, right? But um, the biggest shock to me, the biggest shock to me, about learning the Bible was learning who really God is. And you know, if you ask a Christian who is God, right? Most Christians will say Jesus is God. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says that the Bible says that Jesus Christ has a God, and that God is His Father, and that God is, the Father of all that believe on His name. Because the Spirit inside of every believer is the Spirit that comes from God. So, when I learned that, I was just like all this time I didn't know who God was. I thought God was somebody else, and it kind of took a while to just like wash that thinking off, and then when I would hear it, I'm just like, wow. So I had to make a decision. I'm like, do I stick with what I thought I knew and what I've been taught, or do I stick what was actually being revealed to me? Because then when I read the Bible, it's like, when Jesus was praying, right? When we pray to God. So when Jesus was praying, he was praying to who? He was praying to God. You know. So I'm just like, and it makes so much sense. When I have that purview, the Bible makes so much more sense. It says stuff like Jesus is the second Adam. Adam is a what? What was Adam? Adam was a man. He was a human. So it says he was the second man. So just and then I thought, I'm like, man, I have a dad. I'm like, I'm not my dad. Like, how can I be my dad? How can I be? How can I be my own father? And I'm the son of my own self. Like, I'm just like that's kind of it doesn't make sense. But it was a big shock to me, and it was just a matter of, am I gonna accept it or not, or am I gonna stick to what I grew up, believing or thinking was true, or whatever you want to call it. So I think that we all have to come to that realization. A lot of the things that we were quote unquote indoctrinated with, we have to unlearn it, but not only unlearn it, replace it with substantiated truth. Because why is that? Because nature hates a vacuum. You can't just empty something out without something coming in. You don't just empty things out, you replace it with something better. If you just empty it out, something else is just gonna usher right in. That's why the Bible says, whatever things are just, true, of good rapport, think on those things. It don't just say don't think negative. It says think about the things that are good. So,
Wow,
uh,
that's deep.
so I'll just leave everybody with that. But are you gonna have a discussion on European influence on Christianity? Do you want me to? I mean, I could go into that. Like, uh, I mean, I don't really, this that topic. You know what? I might do a live on my own about that. I'll do a live on my own about that. The European, the thing is, the belief of the dominant culture, whatever was passed down to them, they're going. It's never going to be. They're not going to keep it pure. That's just the nature of man. Man always wants to shape God in His image instead of the other way around. We're in God's image, but man wants to shape God in the image of man.
And
So,
historically, it's been done through like colonization and civilization and
well,
stuff. And
see, here's
certain
here's the
countries
thing
in
about.
Africa, like, maybe this stems off of my video from the other day. Like, Ethiopia never being colonized, and another country that was never colonized in Africa was Liberia, and they both happen. And Liberia is West Africa
Liberia was a colony,
of
was an American.
America,
Yeah, it
but
was
it
American.
wasn't official. It didn't
Yeah, but it
become
was.
official.
Yeah, but I mean, it was still
It was
it was
under
still an American.
an American influence. That's why the flag looks like that. Like, it's red. It has the red, white with the blue and one star.
Yeah,
Like, Liberia is a colony of America, but America doesn't own Liberia. But this goes into the whole colonization and civilization talk that I was talking about, because when you had slaves, some of those African slaves, they would go back to Liberia, and I think that also coincided with Abraham Lincoln when he was saying, we have to be separate. Let the African black slaves go back to West Africa. So they particularly went to Liberia or
I
whatever.
wonder.
But when you look at Africa,
I wonder. if they got deported or like or they volunteered?
I think it was a mixture of both, and some of them probably didn't even have roots there. So it's like imagine like even regardless of whether they had roots there or not, like you're in America your whole life, whoever you are,
I
and then
don't look
they're like,
like
oh, this is
Jeezy.
your hmm?
That dude said I look like Young Jeezy. No, I don't.
I kind of was thinking that too,
I don't look like
but
Young Jeezy. No, I don't.
he said could look like young Jesus.
No, I don't look like the snowman. Hey, that's how you feel? Nah, I'm playing. That's the Jeezy
But
song.
the two countries in Africa, Liberia and Ethiopia, they are Christian countries. So, and that really holds weight. And I guess people are interpreting that as, oh, they're European or whitewashed, influenced, and that's not what it's all about. And if that's what it's about, what's wrong with it? I'm just saying, if that's the interpretation, what's wrong with countries being influenced by white people to be to love God? But
Well,
what's wrong with seeing a group of men who actually have structure and leadership skills say that they love God and they teaching people like I don't see what's wrong with it. I mean, if it's under the guise of yeah, I'm taking your land and I'm doing all this stuff because it's an eat food or be food world, it is wrong. But I don't know, when we keep going down this rabbit hole with the history of white men in America and all these things, it just keeps the more I see more layers unfolding and stuff like that, it just makes me like, wow, like we're white Americans always fighting this stuff and like
see
I
that
don't know.
that kind of takes me to that comment that that dude left under your post. You know, I this is something, you know, like we look at history as if human nature has changed. If you offer somebody an option that they believe is better, they're gonna go with that option. So, you know, I don't. Young Jeezy is his young twin, better looking version. Pause. Come on, I don't look nothing like I don't look nothing like Young Jeezy. But I'll let you have it. If you think I look like him, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, if you give, especially the nature of some of these cultures that have, you know, like old buddy said, caste system, right? So
Like the Hindus.
if you give the lower level caste people, if you give them a chance to be to have upward social mobility, of course they're gonna take it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I mean, I don't know.
Thank
You
God.
know,
Like Vivek Ramaswamy is out. He's out now. Nikki Haley is out, so we don't got to worry about the Indians trying to take over America. Thank God.
I might run for president. I think I can do the job. Look, I had give me 72 hours, man. I'll clean this place up quick. Like all these people acting a fool. Like, man, I'll bring back like public whippings. Like you do something stupid, you get your ass whipped in public. 40 lashes. 40 lashes. You just get your ass whooped. You know? And then like for treason, 90 foot. Let me stop. Let me stop. I don't want the feds. I don't want the feds. I don't want nobody to like. If I ever run for office, I don't want them to see. Well, this is what you said you're gonna do. Anyway, I don't. I don't. You know what? I don't really believe that. I got the wrong bloodline. I don't. I don't really believe that. You know, cause the thing is like when we get into that conspiracy, a lot of that stuff is hard to prove, and I can't operate in a realm that I can't really prove things. You know, so I can only go off of what's in black and white. So, and I feel you. You know, you know, it may have some credence to what you're saying, but I don't know. Like when I operate, you know, with that paradigm, then I kind of just get nihilistic. You know, I'm just like, well, there's no way I can ever beat this thing. So I don't ever want to. I
You
don't
don't want
like.
to think that way.
Yeah, I don't like feeling powerless because I feel like I got the power. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I appreciate everybody watching. Like always, I enjoy. I enjoyed doing this with Lydia. Um, and, and
Crick.
Archbishop, you got Malcolm X type co-host on Crip. I don't even what 361. What is that? Is that Los Angeles? I don't know.
316?
Three and
No.
six. That's Louisiana. I don't know. But either
What?
way, look, I don't know. But you got any closing words?
Um, thank you all for watching.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.
See you guys next time. Take care.